checking the new IP release.
These are Hello, Chad. Welcome aboard, everybody, to something a little different today. A little different. Wanted to share a moment with you all that kind of came along a couple of days ago. Naughty Dog, the makers of Last of Us and Last of Us 2, the whole series, really, released a new video on their channel for how they made Last of Us and Last of Us 2. Well, essentially, the new one is Grounded 2 Making of The Last of Us Part 2. And I kind of wanted to watch it, and it's like 2 hours of this. And I thought, well, did they make one on the original? And they did. And that's about an hour and a half as well. So I kind of wanted to watch both today. It's just kind of a fun reaction watch party to just kind of see Last of Us and Last of Us 2 all over again. I think, what was it, last year we got the HBO series. Season 2 will be coming out on the HBO, is it HBO? Whatever. Anyway, the Last of Us series is really cool. The whole game's really cool. The gunplay in the second game's great. The story's even better in the first game. And the remake or the remaster, which came way too early in my opinion, still is pretty cool with the whole roguelite mode that they have going on. A lot of people are playing the grounded, various survival modes, and it's a lot of fun. Last of Us is still a very cool franchise, and a game, or rather a series, that I'd like to see other games on that revolve around other characters outside of the, Joel and Ellie and people that we know from the main story. I think it'd be great to see some other spin-off games and some other stuff in the Last of Us world or franchise or whatever. So we're going to sit back, grab some popcorn, grab a snack. We're just going to be kind of sitting here and reacting to the first part, and then we'll go on to the second part, which is new. But I figured if we're going to watch the second part, I haven't seen the first part either, so we may as well do a 1 and a 2. And maybe sometime in the future we'll play Last of Us 2 again in the future, like way down the line. But this makes me also think of Death Stranding. I'd love to see a Death Stranding series and other games that I think would just do well with very interesting, actual episodic series. I think it'd be really wonderful to explore more of the worlds that games bring us. It's fascinating to see games like Horizon would be a wonderful series to see. I'd love to see a movie on Hellblade. That'd be amazing. Hellblade 2 is coming out soon too, and I would love to see more of this. Like, how the hell do they make these games? How the hell do they keep things quiet? You've got 150 people working on these things or more, and there's tons of stuff to there's tons of stuff to keep quiet, to work on, and it's amazing how many people come together for making games. In fact, one of the coolest things we saw recently on the channel is we went and saw how Squadron 42, I forget what they called it, but it was the Squadron 42, the Star Citizen Squadron 42, update, hey, we're done with our initial plan. They kind of finished the making the game, and now they're going to be polishing the game. The main pieces are there, and now they're going to work on it, but they were showing all the cool stuff they did. Anyway, this just makes me excited for other games. They do mention in these games Uncharted a bit as well. I'd love to see how they made Uncharted and some other games as well. So anyway, we're just going to sit back and enjoy this for a few hours. Something a little unusual on the channel, but since it is such a long thing, and together it's about 3 hours of our usual streaming time, I thought we'd kind of watch this and just hang out. So yeah, so if you've already seen these, cool. I hope you all enjoy. I have not, so this is my first look at how they made Last of Us and Last of Us 2. Let's go ahead and check it out. Yeah. Oh, I guess, yeah. A spoiler alert if you haven't beaten Last of Us.
Yeah,
the first
making
game.
the new IP is how can I put it? It's just don't do it.
By the way, this video was from 9 years ago. 9 years ago, this video came out.
It's insane. I mean, it's a very difficult process. You have more questions than you have answers, especially when you come from you've been making Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2, just kind of now things are going, you just kind of good momentum, and then suddenly that momentum just drops, it stops. It's a very challenging process to create a new IP, and you're gonna fail over and over again, but that's what it takes.
New IPs are really hard. They're hard because you don't know what's fun yet. You're building new tech, new AI, establishing new characters, new art, all this.
True.
You don't get that controller in your hand for 6 months to a year.
You don't know what it is yet. I remember like ages ago coming on the project and what are the infected gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna behave like this. I'm like, okay, we're like trying to imagine what's gonna happen. Fast forward like 4 months, they don't do that at all because it didn't work, right?
It's hard mode, right? Like it's game development
On
on expert.
There's a big thing about making a game, right? Which is a game has to be fun. You get your first build
Fun.
where everything's working.
They're
You've
not
got
just
player
vehicles for
mechanics. You can
monetization?
walk around the world. You can shoot. You can melee attack people. You've got the AI, and they're very intelligent, very difficult, and it's totally not fun because they snuck up behind you and murdered you in a second, and there was no way to figure out what was going on.
Your phone it is.
We're making a game, by the way. Hey, James.
Oh, the music was so good in the first game too.
The company has grown quite a bit since I started. I think I was the 12th employee or something back when we got started, but we've tried to stay true to those smaller studio roots.
I've been here for 16 years. There's just no reason to
16
leave.
years.
I just like the environment here. It's very non-corporate.
I think the way we work on Dialogue is kind of special because we don't really like hierarchy or bureaucracy, and no one is really just a manager here.
Guy was
Naughty
working there
Dog
for
has a very
16 years.
flat structure. We pretty much all report to the co-presidents and the game directors.
I always tell people when we hire them, just like, my job is going to be able to trust you, and that's what I want. I want just to give you something and you go with it, and I know it's going to get done.
We believe in
That's how I want it
iteration, we believe in collaboration, and we believe in the people making the game working directly with each other.
When we have designers and artists, animators all mixed up, anybody that's working on the same tasks, the same characters, the same areas, put them next to each other so they can communicate a lot better.
We don't have a lot of meetings because if you need something to get done, you just walk over and you talk, and then you go back to your desk and you finish it up.
And I really like that. I like when I just walk in the office
that
and I
Iron
see
Man?
just designers talking with the programmers or programmers over the animators and talking to them. I think that's when really the magic happens.
Naughty Dog, we really try to cultivate a culture where anybody can
the hell is Neil
criticize
Druckmann?
anybody else's work.
And we encourage people to be
Low-level
blunt about it and not try to
clearly.
sugarcoat it too much. It takes too long to be nice sometimes.
It's not personal. It's based on more like how can we make a better game.
We want everybody to have a voice. We want to cut out all the bullshit if we can, making sure that people are making decisions not based on ego, but what is going to benefit the game.
When you see that people trust your opinion and that they value it, it's such a great feeling. You really feel like you're working as a team on a collaborative effort.
We want to
That's a lot of people,
sort of
dude,
remember
already.
where we came from and you know why we were successful then and try to continue that success now.
We make games. That's what we like to do.
Oh God, hold on a second. This thing, I hate this, by the way. Hold on, look at this. I noticed this. This is
You know why we were successful then
PTSD
and
from
try
working
to
all the
continue
years
that.
at an office. These are filing cabinets that have a little padded chair on the top, so that way it sits under somebody's desk. You can pull these out and then sit down to like sit next to somebody. Oh my God, the amount of times those get pulled out and you have to sit next to somebody. Like, oh, hey, I hear you going on vacation. Show me how to do your job so I can cover you. My God.
That success now.
We make games.
Those little red stools. Hell.
That's what we like to do.
No
Back
backing,
when
no
Uncharted
art
2
support.
wrapped up and we decided that we were going to build the second team and create a new project, we kicked around a lot of ideas. One of the very
TPS
earliest
report.
ideas was to go back to Jak and Daxter. It's really near and dear to us. We really love those characters in that universe, and we think that there are some interesting stories still to be told there. We started to realize that it was not going to do justice to the franchise that the fans had fallen in love with. It would be shifting it so far in a new direction that we felt that effort would be more justified in developing a new IP. Neil and Bruce came to Christoph and I and said they wanted to do a post-apocalyptic game. I think the core essence of what they wanted to do, though, was to try to tell a story about two people and how their relationship
A lot of nerds,
evolved over the course of the entire game.
That potential, oh wow, there is something very special about that game. This is going to be polished. Like, you're not sure if it's gonna work or not, and you have doubts. And like, should we be doing a game like that? Should we be doing a first-person shooter? Whatever. Like, you ask yourselves all those questions.
And the creative director and the game director are the core of the team that have to really see eye to eye.
That's why you have that balance between like Bruce and Neil, and Neil's gonna try to push the just the story and the characters, and Bruce is going to try to push that with just the gameplay as well.
Every
And so it's
monitor
kinda
is like the size of a
those
TV.
guys are just trying always to find the right balance between the two. It's a
Massive
very
monitors.
dedicated process.
We feel that the interactive medium has an untapped potential to touch the feelings of the player. You have that connectivity, the fact that I'm actually in the world and participating in what's happening on the screen in front of me gives us some sort of advantage to make you feel connected with what's actually happening. At Naughty Dog, that's what we're trying to do, is pair story and gameplay together. If we can make you feel like you're actually
That's creepy, dude. Well,
with
that's
these
a weird.
characters
Who the
on
hell
that
filmed
journey,
somebody's eye that close?
and you're
That's so
invested in those
weird.
stories and those characters, then you're feeling in theory, the same thing that they're feeling.
As the story evolved and took different shapes and different forms, the thing that was always there was Joel and Ellie. And because of that, everything kind of grew out of that relationship.
We've seen kind of that role of the anti-hero change, especially over the last 3 to 5 years, to where before it was like, the thick-neck mercenary kind of guy. For this game specifically, for this story, we needed something new.
Roy is in everything.
The
He's
reason we didn't
voicing
want
the
to
new
make
guitar
Ellie
guy
Joel's
from,
daughter from the get-go.
Death Stranding
because
2.
It wouldn't
He's
have
not
anywhere to go. Of
new,
course,
but
at that point,
the
he'd
new
be willing
game.
to do anything for his daughter because that is what a dad would do for his
shirt.
daughter. If they didn't even know each other at the beginning of the story, then we start from scratch. It's almost like the player has the same relationship to Ellie as Joel does. And we could take our time to build that relationship between these characters. And if we do it right, then the player will be feeling that same growth that Joel does. And we're kind of mirroring that emotional relationship between the two.
What are you doing?
Killing time.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I am sure you will figure that out.
Your watch is broken.
It's exciting that Neil wrote something like this, where he's like, I don't want to make the stereotypical characters. I want to make real people in this crazy situation and these forced to make decisions that are really tough. Like, what would we be like in those situations?
I mean, we weren't consciously trying to pick male or female for characters. You just try to pick characters and just be honest with who they are. It almost doesn't matter, right? Joel's daughter could have been Joel's son. Ellie could have been a boy, and Joel might have been Tess. You could have swapped those roles, and I think the story would have still worked.
The focus on female strength, it's so unique. You get to see what's so powerful about a woman through all of these female characters, which makes this game wonderful and unique. There's a crew of Fireflies that'll meet you at the Capitol building.
That's not exactly close.
You're capable. You hand her off, come back, the weapons are yours. Double what Robert sold me.
Speaking of which, where are they?
Back in our camp.
We're not smuggling shit until I see them.
I want Joel to watch over her.
Whoa, I don't think that's
Bullshit,
the
I'm not
best
Ellie.
idea.
him.
How do you know them?
I do think having a strong female character, especially like Ellie, is so rare in video games. And as a
Sassy
gamer,
teenager?
and
Those
more
are
specifically
everywhere.
a female gamer, it's frustrating to me because I'll see sort of the stereotypical female character where she's amazingly beautiful and huge boobs, and she's there to be either the love interest or just because they're like, well, we need to throw a chick in here.
We've seen the strong woman or we've seen the weak woman. We haven't necessarily seen the empowered woman. from this kind of standpoint. And there's that beautiful scene where Joel finds her inside the house and she's reading through this girl's journal going, is this really what they used to worry about? What shirt do I wear and what boy am I gonna go out with? You know, and to be met with those first world problems that we deal with every day and go, how trivial is all of this? I think it's gonna resonate a lot, not just with, you know, a female audience, but with a male audience as well.
The thing that was intriguing to me after the fact is knowing that we're kind of creating a female action hero in a way, and this is her origin story with Ellie.
To sort of be such a strong female character that is completely normal looking, regular t-shirt and jeans, and she's 14 and she is still a total badass, is really exciting to be a part of that.
There's so few non-sexualized women in video games, especially in the main role, that we were kind of proud that we were creating one. It's very complex, and without the players knowing it, she becomes the protagonist by the end of the story. And that's why she's in the front of the box, and that's why we've been promoting the two of them together so much.
Who's there? It is a dual protagonist game, and yeah, I guess I get nervous to think about it in that way.
Molotov. Oh no, bomb.
Yeah. We couldn't talk
that
about
frame
it.
rate,
In fact,
though.
in interviews we've been lying about saying you never play as Ellie because it was so important for that to be a surprise. Sorry, journalists.
Here we go. Sorry. Hold on. That's it.
The tone of the game was set pretty early on that we knew that we wanted to make a really grounded story. We knew that we wanted to make the player feel the sense of tension and dread and go through the same emotional roller coaster that Joel and Ellie were going through.
One of the things we kind of struggled with is to say, well, if we want to really ground this world and make it so like realistic, maybe we shouldn't have anything that could be perceived as a monster. Maybe like by just having an infection that just killed people, and it's all about humans and how they deal with this post-apocalyptic society and how different people decide to survive. Maybe that would be enough. And what we realized is because we're making an action game, a lot of the storytelling happens on the joystick. And once we remove the infected, it's like all of a sudden now we can't tell the story through gameplay of what happened to the world. And that's where we kind of went back and kind of brought the infected back in, because it lets you see, once you're fighting them, the threat that people had to deal with that otherwise would just be very cerebral and people could talk about it, but you couldn't necessarily experience it yourself.
And
In
we're
a
gonna
novel,
not
that
have
might
zombies in a
work. In game for
post-apocalyptic
us,
zombie
in a
game?
specifically an action game, it didn't work.
And from there, when we start kicking around those ideas, and we're just like, what would be cool just to play?
The early inception for it really came from a BBC video we saw called Planet Earth, where they were talking about a cordyceps fungus.
This cordyceps fungus gets inside of the brain and controls these ants, and mandibles start chomping, they grow up to higher areas, cordyceps fungus sprouts out, and then it germinates.
And essentially uses them to spread its infection and take over whole colonies, sometimes wiping them out. As soon as we saw it, we were intrigued by the idea of what if it jumped to humans?
Oh man.
So what would happen? How would people react? What would happen to society? As we're trying to develop the look of the infected, we went through so many different iterations, some that looked really alien and subhuman, some that looked just essentially like zombies, and we couldn't find like an original place for them. But one of our artists just did this kind of photo mashup where he took a bunch of images of diseases or images of fungal overgrowth, and he kind of mashed it all together and he threw it on this person.
Hey Bob, what are you up to? I was looking at fungal overgrowth.
The fungus felt properly integrated, like it was part of the body, growing out of the body.
And not just fungus growing on the head, but it's tearing the face apart, cleft down the middle, this gaping maw of a mouth with the crooked teeth.
And it's in great agony as its humanity and its brain is still somewhat functioning. Maybe you still have some human cognitive abilities or thought process back here.
This isn't some decaying corpse on the ground. This is a living thing that's going to be coming after you in the world.
The fungus is always the focal point. So you can see from a distance, oh, this guy's infected. I can tell straight away.
In fungus, they have these beautiful saturated colors, and we really like that conscious of this something so horrific that it's going to like stop at nothing. It's relentless force of death, and yet elements of it are beautiful. It's not just about gore. It's not just about everything about it being scary, because to us it's actually scarier when things on it are somewhat benign or somewhat beautiful.
It was evident that we were onto something that was quite a bit different and something that we hadn't really seen before, which was eerily human but very disturbing.
And it seemed so creepy and so unique that right away we gravitated towards it, and it's like, this is our base infected, everything should kind of come out of this look. So once we had this idea of the face-splitting kind of look that eventually became what we call
those are the
clicker
clickers.
stage.
Like that's
We
the
went to great lengths to create
end
a
stage.
full biological cycle for these things.
So in the early stages, you don't actually see too many signs of the fungus surfacing out of the skin. It's kind of underneath it, like people have lumps starting to show. The eyes will be kind of cloudy or lopsided because the fungus kind of originates inside the head.
That moves into the next phase, which is the clicking phase.
And if they mess with the eyes, we end up saying, well, how do they get around? Oh, echolocation.
And they use a form of echolocation to track down their enemies.
Just like bats, or even some blind people can see by making a clicking sound, a sound that on its own wouldn't be very scary. And then to associate it with something that people in this world are very fearful of, so that as you're exploring an environment, all of a sudden you hear this click, and you're seeing everybody just get frightened, just everybody duck, everybody hushes.
Great.
Oh, the office building level. This one's a tough one. This is when the game's suddenly like, good luck! And it really ramps up in difficulty. Until you get to Bill's
The
Town.
bloater is the most severe of the stages. So large pieces of the body has been replaced by these kind of fungal plates.
The fungus completely takes over the body and blooms.
They're kind of covered in things that have been growing on them. Things like moss and like little life on life kind of.
What the fuck is that?
Language, young
When an
lady.
infected feels like it's going to die, it finds like a dark corner, and it becomes part of the environment.
The human elements aren't there anymore.
And then the body is gone.
They lay down and sprout and then spew spores.
And if people can
do
breathe
the
those
same.
spores, they become infected as well. It all had to kind of make sense of how each stage flowed from one to the other. And that's hopefully how we've created a world that you can kind of look through it and understand the science behind it and say, I could buy this, I could get into this.
That must be the sewers with Sam and get his name.
Mandatory evacuation. Evacuate to where?
What do you think? Quarantine zone. See, some places got a heads up before the infection showed up. Most didn't.
Over the course of Joel and Ellie's journey through this game across America,
You find all these different societies, all these different enclaves, and you get to see how do they deal with the infected.
without the manifestation of this infection, you can't have these people making those interesting choices.
All this concept art is absolutely gorgeous. This is beautiful.
The world we decided was actually its own character, really grounded with a lot of texture. What happens, after 20 years of the fall of man, when no one's taking care of anything?
This book called The World Without Us describes in detail how much fighting on a day-to-day basis we have to do to keep nature back. And once you stop doing that, how quickly nature can reclaim that. They talk about New York and how every day they pump
Nature.
water out of the subway system. That system
That's
breaks
where
down
bears
within 2 days.
live.
The whole city is flooded. And once water gets introduced, then structures collapse pretty quickly. Trees will sprout, and wind will carry those seeds over, and gutters get clogged. And then when it rains, water fills up, and then pretty soon you have vegetation growing over there. And once you have vegetation, concrete breaks pretty easily for when there's a tree and roots breaking through that.
That
Even
is-
some of the
ooh,
stuff
the
we did
wall
on
on the
Uncharted,
left. Wow.
exploration of how temples were ruined. What if you took those ideas and put them in Pittsburgh or Boston?
And obviously, right when that happened, you can imagine that being pretty terrible to look at. But you think about 20 years later, and with rainwater filling up those sinkholes and then those becoming like little marshes with lily pads in them.
We had this wonderful piece of concept art we developed really early on, and there are all of these wild animals that have escaped from a zoo and over the past 20 years have bred, and now they have herds
big
roaming
cat.
these cities. And that's something that tells you that life goes on, and
do
this
hunt
world
in
is worth
packs.
saving.
Oh yeah, you're right, Emma. You're right.
Don't scare it.
I won't.
I want to pet a giraffe.
There's something really pretty about nature reclaiming its domain once we are gone.
So fucking cool.
We have another level of OCD of the logic goes into some of these environments. Water damage seeps in, and then that creates some little moss growing on the floor, or a tree radiates energy from its base, and that over time starts to melt the snow around it. And that's the reason why you'd see those like rings of leaves showing through in the snow. That gives it that extra, believability. This is pitch art. I'll try to start with an idea that conveys sort of the feel of the environment. Something like this, very brushstrokey, very painterly. You can see not a lot of
Bob
detail,
Ross?
just energy and conveying a mood. This is sort of just a conversation starter, and then this would be more of an actual space. So you start talking about, is this too tight of a space right here? Would the player even fit through there? Do we even want to include water? Those are conversations you start having a little bit later. And then it usually needs several more passes back and forth in order to be tightened up to be the experience that you would see in the final product. So, dude, I was actually trying to figure out right here, there should probably be some dead foliage.
It might be cool to see some of the dead stuff around the edges of the green, or like even spilling out into the street.
Maybe what we do is, in some of these areas, we use it as like a transition from the actual
This is the most
concrete to the
fascinating
side
part,
of the
the
building.
level
So like they're
design.
almost
I love
sitting on
this.
top of a bed of dead foliage, like that really rich kind of like orangey brown
Yeah.
color.
Sienna or something would be nice. Something real cheddary.
That's how you know you're done. The end product
Cheddar.
often ends up being stronger because that bouncing back off somebody else gives you a result that maybe you wouldn't have even thought of in the first place.
Wow, that is vibrant AF. Look at that. Oh, that must have been the concept
All right.
area for...
Here's the bridge. That's our way out of here.
Getting to, I think that's
As far
in
as concept art
Pittsburgh?
goes, definitely
Question mark?
the ultimate goal is just helping everybody as much as possible.
Me and the background artist will work together. I'll often just go to them because they've got like a really, really good like visual imagination. At some point, you came in almost like flat on. So that's kind of good because
Dude, these graphics are
the bus station
horrible.
is right in your peripheral view.
How could they
and-
release that? Oh, good.
And you're probably going to
Yeah.
enter the bus station. You're probably not going to get lost. But it doesn't at all utilize this cool architecture here, like the bus station sign.
Spider-Man
Like, that's a
jump.
really distinctive silhouette, and it's a really interesting sort of architectural detail. So we changed the entrance.
You know, one of the coolest things about these games is
that.
like when they
Another
want you to
city,
go a particular way, but they
another
don't.
abandoned
They don't point arrows. But we're all used to
I
ledges
think
that
it's
have
about
like
composition
yellow
anyway.
paint
It's
or
not
like
so,
a yellow,
symmetrical.
like a tarp or
And
something, and you're
I
supposed
think
to
that was
jump
done
on it.
So that this sign right
God
now,
of War
if you
does
can
the
see
same
word
thing
bus on it,
too.
you might not know it's a bus
A lot of
station.
games do that
It
thing where it's like,
helps.
"Hey, over here, pal,"
Everything
but
we're
they don't.
doing
They don't
in
say
the
it.
environments is relating back to what
Level
you should
design
be
is
feeling in the story or what's
I
happening. with
love
these
that so
characters.
much
Was that everything you hoped for?
because they want to guide you,
Jury's
but
still
they don't
out.
want to push you. It's like this way whenever you're ready.
Can't deny that view.
I love it.
Come on, this way.
When we first came up with Ellie and Joel, we had this idea in our heads of who they would be, but we didn't necessarily know the voice.
It took us a while to find our Joel, but for Ellie, I think Ashley was the second or third candidate to walk in, and right away we knew.
Yeah, you know
Why
what?
are you so scared all of a sudden?
Because I'm a coward, okay? So just get your shit and let's get out of here.
Damn it. I'm not like her, you know.
What?
You think I'm gonna end up like your daughter?
The way she delivered the lines, the way she just embodied that character is like,
ouch.
That's Ellie, there's no question about it.
And I saw the character artwork and I related to her a lot. I mean, she's kind of a tomboy and she's kind of tough, and I mean, obviously I'm not 14, and I think that's the main difference between the two of us. I read the scenes and I was like, I need to play this part.
You want to be my hero? Forget the whole bit about saving my life. Buy me a stack of these bad boys instead.
Where'd you get that?
Back at Bill's. I mean, all this stuff was just lying around.
And then once we had her, we said, okay, well, we're gonna do another round, and we're gonna have Ashley this time in the casting sessions. The chemistry of these two characters was imperative to get right.
Troy was a really interesting casting for Joel because when you see Troy, he doesn't look like Joel at all.
You know, he's so handsome and he had like, you know, the frosty hair and
What the hell?
totally
Troy
looked
looks like he's in
Final
a boy
Fantasy.
band.
And so
What the hell?
I'm like, yeah, I don't know. He's like this tall, pretty, It didn't seem right.
I walked into the room fully aware that I was the youngest person that they were seeing for this role. There was a line that was in the audition side that says that Joel has few moral lines left to cross. And so that became the anchor point to the character.
But then as soon as he spoke, and he had the grit in his voice,
Warm, yet kind of dangerous.
and his movement is just like you bought into it.
Why are you so scared all of a sudden?
Because I'm a big coward, okay? Now pack up your shit and let's go.
Damn it. I'm not her, you know.
This is cool as hell.
What?
You think I'm gonna end up like your daughter?
Lily, you are treading on some very thin ice right now.
It was Ellie and Joel.
After he read, it was just like that was it.
I've done some video games in
These
the
two
past,
were
but to
perfect.
be handed the mantle of a franchise like this was
With
a
his
pretty
roles.
big honor. Is she alive?
She's alive. She's David's newest pet. Ah!
Where?
In the town. She's in the town.
You mark it on the map. It better be the same exact spot your buddy points to.
Neil pulled me aside one day, and he said, I have some ideas. And as you're well aware, Neil is a little twisted. He came up with this character, and
I didn't
just
realize he
jumped at it.
voiced
It was
David.
Such a departure from everything I've done.
Nathan Drake voiced David.
To say the least.
Wow.
Name's
I had
David.
no idea.
This here's my friend James. We're from a larger group.
What?
Women, children. We're all very, very hungry.
To be able to put on a voice that,
The
you know,
hell? I
hopefully a
didn't
lot
know
of people
that.
won't notice that it's even me. Because we didn't want him to be Drake. Drake eating people, that's a whole nother game.
I had no idea. Oh my
How
God.
did you put it? Tiny pieces. See you tomorrow, Ellie.
I had no
certain
idea.
voices that I can do wouldn't fit the David's artwork, but he showed me the art, and I
said maybe it's something like this, where everything's, it's very quiet. And just, he's not really sure, and the voice can break a little.
Yeah,
and
Batman.
he just looked and goes, yeah, that's it. So I'd love to tell you we hashed it over and we talked. No, it just, I looked at the picture and I tried something. He said, yeah.
A few weeks back, I sent a group of men out a nearby town to look for food. Only a few came back. And turns out that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. And get this, he was with a little girl. You see, everything happens for a reason.
Ashley, she brought humor to it.
She just has some really great comedic timing. The way she reacts to the things around the world with a little bit of sarcasm, that teen kind of like trying to get a rise out of you.
Now watch your step as you're going out, because it's going to be a little...
It just brought a certain levity to the story that the story needed. You didn't even realize it needed it until she started doing some of that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Well, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude.
Throughout the course of shooting over these past couple of years, Ellie and I have kind of morphed into each other, which I know sounds so cheesy.
Bye-bye, dude.
Neil always asks, he's like, well, what would you do in this situation?
I think the most important thing that Ashley brought is a sense of capability to Ellie's character that wasn't there in the beginning.
The very first thing we shot involved her being pulled out of a car and attacked, and Joel was supposed to go save her.
It was written that Ellie sort of was just kind of watching on the side, just waiting till he was done, and I was a little frustrated because I was like, well, if this were real life, I would do something.
We did a couple takes, and at some point she walked up to me and she said, I feel like I'd hit him.
So we added in a part, like, you know, right there off the bat, she's not just this damsel in distress. Right there, she wanted to fight back from her very first day of shooting.
We didn't have it right initially. She needs to be more capable than initially we thought she would be, and actually that made us go back and rethink combat and rethink a lot of the areas in the game, and now she was going to take a much more active part.
Anything that requires, you know, a lot of body movement, we do with the actors on the mocap stage, and we try as much as possible to use our actual principal actors, use their body motion as well as their voice. We captured all at once there on the stage.
Having the actors
This is
perform
amazing to
as
see the
well as being
mocap stuff.
recorded at the same
Cool.
time was imperative to get an accurate performance. Because every time you split up the performance in any way, you lose some of that magic where they did a gesture or they delivered the line a certain way, and those things have to be in sync, or there's just something subconscious that's like off-putting about the performance when you don't do it that way.
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
It gives you the most authentic, most realistic performance because you're actually there,
What a
not just
game, man.
making your own choices, but making your own choices based on the other people that are involved in that scene. So you get this truly natural approach to things, and it shows up.
It's like theater in the round. You can do anything from any angle, and the smallest, most subtle thing will be able to
Hey, it's
pick up.
Henry.
There's no place to hide. So you have to be
That's Tommy,
as
yeah.
prepared as possible, because you have no idea which moments they're going to use.
There are these little improv moments and, you know, little nuances that you get that probably isn't scripted, that just comes out of play, you know, while they're performing. That mistake that is just blossomed into a really good idea.
Did we improv on The Last of Us? Yes. Yes, we did.
Doing this was a whole lot like being 5 playing in the backyard with a stick, you know, and this is my machine gun, and you know, the pine cone is my hand grenade. It's all your imagination.
Bill.
I'm doing the exact same shit that I did 45 years ago. I just get paid for it now. We square. We're square.
Bill needs his own game.
And get the fuck out of my town.
I want to build DLC.
I don't do a lot of voiceover work, so for me it was nice to be able to work off of your other actors. I can't imagine it working any other way.
I'd never done mocap before. I didn't know what
Bill
to
is
expect.
awesome. I love Bill so
The
much.
suits were crazy.
Yeah, the suit gave me wedgies. Like, deep wedgies that I had to pick out with my middle finger. Too much information.
Just
Wait a
how
minute.
damn sexy I look in a motion
Wasn't
capture
he the
suit.
voice actor
I look
for
like
one
10
of the
pound
new
of sausage
Spider-Man?
and a 5-pound casing in that thing, man.
Once you get past the fact that like everybody else and
Oh.
you look like weird clown people with these little dots and stuff, once you like give over to that, it really was pretty easy to
She
make
passed
it just
away
feel
recently,
like
didn't she?
You're in the moment and in the scene.
Everyone that was on
was
this
very
is a
young. I think
slam
she was
dunk.
like
This isn't just another gig to
late
them.
30s,
and that creates
early
a really
40s.
cool energy for people to really start experimenting and playing jazz.
Floor is yours.
Action.
Fuck off! Hey!
Oh, let her go.
Don't worry, this is fixable. But I can't come with you.
Well, then I'm staying.
Yeah, like a year ago.
I want
Tess.
Joel to watch over.
Oh, no,
Bullshit, I have no
Ellie.
with
Got
him.
to.
I could just take her to the North Tunnel and wait for me there.
Jesus Christ.
Just cargo, Joel.
How do you know them?
You know, we craft the scene out until it has a good feel, and then we pass it off to animation to clean it up.
Real life motions don't necessarily always translate into gameplay.
There's something that's usually missing, so we have to, maybe enhance the gesture or enhance the shoulder movements or
So many
a breath
talented
that
people
you want to
do.
be able to feel, but you don't really see
And
it.
by
So
the
you
way-
can't really feel it unless you see it.
All these companies firing these people and laying them off and stuff like that. Like, do you know how hard it is to do this stuff and to get it right? Each of them is truly an artist and a technician at the same. You got to be as talented in mathematics and science as you are in creativity and art. Get rid of them. Profit margins must be maintained. Unacceptable, dude. Unacceptable. Ridiculous. I hope all those people who
Is everything
constantly get
alright?
laid off go to make their own games that are just as good or
everything's
better
fine.
than this.
I could
Tired
have
of
them
hearing
lean
about
in
it.
here a little bit more.
Stop firing these people. They're
like
busting their
this.
ass. They're
They keep
dedicated.
Hand down.
They want
when
to
they're on
work
stage,
and do
they don't
amazing
necessarily
things.
have windows.
Stop.
You know, so that weight of like
Stop firing.
really pushing and leaning in, it's something that we would have to accentuate. You know, give him a little bit
Incredible
more
amount of
weight on that
discipline to
turn,
do that.
or put his head down a little bit more.
There's a lot of dialogue that gets said between the two characters. We have to bring that alive through animation, and we have what we're using as gestures.
Why would they mow down all these people?
Can't let everyone in.
If you turned off the sound, you'd know that they were talking to each other. And that really helps accentuate the relationship that the two have together. We have certain animations that play in the beginning of the game on Ellie. She's traveling with Joel, who she doesn't really know. There's a lot of gestures to make her look nervous, just her overall stance. Later on in the game, they develop a relationship through the animation, not just the dialogue. You can see that she's more comfortable around him. If that reads well with the player, then, you know, we're doing our job. We want her to look scared when she gets a gun. We want her to look scared of the gun.
So if she's gonna aim, she wouldn't be like super trained aim. She would be more like some scared. But at the same time, it needs to look cool and feel cool to the player that plays.
It's really just these little tiny details that we're doing.
Sound like a
and it's
Danish
coming across.
accent.
It's working out well.
Was she
We don't do facial capture. We don't track eye movements on stage. It's just the motion capture data. Everything that you see on the faces is hand keyed. As you can see, this is all of her mocap data. And so when I'm doing something like this, I go back and forth to the performance that she was
You
giving.
had to do
and
hundreds of thousands of
I
frames.
watch just this section over and over and over again. So this is our default face. I can make everything super extreme and make her all squinty and angry. Turn her
What you say? What you
frown
say, bro?
down. I can open her mouth, stick her tongue out. It's listen, watch. Okay, where's her mouth at this point? Like, is it open? Is she making like a grimace?
About Tess. I don't even know.
Here's how this thing's gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess. Ever. Matter of fact, we just keep our histories to ourselves.
We shoot all of it to just get the body motion, and then we'll do a second pass with the cameras.
The scene's playing back on an overhead projector, but it's also playing back on a monitor that's attached to my rig.
Sean and I would go to the stage and motion capture the camera filming the scene, and so he would get a whole wide shot, a whole close-up for the whole scene.
You know, you can change your lenses, you can use your standard 35, 85, 50s, whatever, all that sort of live action camera cinematography, you can apply it on stage.
We make sure to go back in and add flaws.
We keep the confinements of the room so the camera can't go past a certain wall, because then we have this.
It's amazing how they're
cheated
making
perspective.
a
If the
movie
cameraman
into a
bumps into the
game,
wall,
kind
keep
of.
it, you know, missing focus hits when you're pulling focus, going too close to a character and reframing, those little moments in there kind of keeps it very cinema verite.
If everything was too perfect, you wouldn't be able to put your finger on it, but you'd be able to feel it. It would just feel off.
It's very much about grounding it, despite having, you know, the option to do whatever we want.
Being able to place the cameras anywhere we want after the motion capture gives us both advantages and disadvantages. The biggest advantage is it means that we just have to nail the best performances we can get, and the luxury is that we can always swap it.
The 3D world gives you limitless opportunities with cameras and movements, exposures, all that stuff. Most of these cameras are sort of set up like real world cameras. So we have lens, we have f-stop that will create the depth of field. We have aperture to, you know, set our film back and all that stuff. And a master, and then I have my close-ups, my over-the-shoulders, sort of just like a live-action production. Let's go to camera 30 at the 23.458. Then I get that kind of weird, you know, bend across his back. The closer I bring the camera, the more bend I get, which is, you know, doesn't look right. It doesn't look as, it looks less cinematic than if I do that, which flattens the whole thing. And I'm trying to also catch Ellie. Like if you scrub a little more, you know, catch her in the back here. So I want a longer lens and that kind of stuff.
Since I've only had experience working with live action before I got into video games, it was a kind of a cool adjustment to be able to have this extra flexibility in post to swap a line of dialogue for something different, even though that's not what the actor said at that time, and to be able to still have a close-up on them while they said it. You get to make it probably more perfect than you could ever make it in live action.
How far are we gonna take
As far as it needs to go. Where was this lab of theirs?
Because our actors are both the voice and their body, they get to play, they get to try things, they get to work with our director to kind of come up with new ideas, or even our director will have a new idea on the spot that wasn't there in the script, but realizing when he sees it, oh, well, this would actually be better, this might feel better. And those changes all just happen organically there on the set.
He could even lead straight into his thing. It's like, no shit, yep, Tyler wanted to do that, so we rented 2 Harleys and drove cross country.
Keep it pretty succinct. Like, we got the bikes, rode them cross country. Cool.
It's shocking to me that this is Neil's first time directing.
There was a specific tone and a specific approach that Neil and Bruce wanted to take with this. It just came down to, there's nobody knows this story better than you, and then there's nobody that knows these characters better than you. Why don't you just do this?
He and I actually had a conversation about it. He says, I think I'm going to try this myself, and I'm not sure. Neil was fantastic.
The floor is yours. Okay, so remember, you've been running away from this turret-mounted truck. If you come to this dead end, you're going to look up and see a potential way out. And action.
Check it out.
I mean, his writing is honest, and it's dangerous, and it's natural.
And I love his economy of words. He doesn't hit everything on the nose, so it leaves it open for you to interpret and bring some nuances and things like that.
The entire process is collaborative, but really it's led by Neil's willingness to change and flow and decide something doesn't work, fix it right there in the moment. And it is something that's very foreign to the way that TV and film is done now, where everything has been micromanaged by the time you get it to the table read, and no one wants you to change anything, and everything's very precious and has been rewritten with notes from 20 people in suits.
Yep.
And you can't do that just anywhere in entertainment these days.
Yeah, I want to make sure. I think I swung too far over to this way, and now it's a little bit of making jokes about it, and I need to bring it back to center a little bit. There's one scene in the game where we see Joel not as a ruthless survivor, but as a father. I knew from the very beginning that he was going to lose his daughter, and I just told Neil, it's like, when that day comes for us to shoot that, I need a heads up. About a week before, he said, it's time, we're going to do that scene. I was like, okay, because I knew that I was going to have to go to this place that you don't really want to go to as an actor. You want to find some aspect of reality that you can empathetically draw from,
Troy and I were both kind of just like walking around for a while and just kind of getting into the zone, and well, my grandpa died when I was 8. He was like my dad, and so that's always what I use to get into that place.
I started recalling all those memories and starting pulling up all those feelings, and they're just right underneath the surface. When I walked back in, everyone realized that something was different. They kind of calmed down,
You could feel the energy just like drop a little bit more.
It was brutal.
I lose my shit. I mean, just completely break down.
Don't do this, please, God, no. Oh, God, no.
The soundstage was deathly still.
It was the first take, and I felt really good about it. And it's like Neil said, okay, let's do it again. And so you do it again, and automatically you feel like you're manufacturing because you're trying to go back to that place, and you're in that actor nightmare of trying to get back to that reality. And we go through it again in 5th and 6th and 7th take, and I'm just exhausted. I'm crying between takes, and I'm looking at Neil going, this is really, really hard. And finally, after like the 8th or 9th take, he said, all right, I think we got it. I was like, oh, thank God. And I went outside, and I was just jacked up for the rest of the day. Just, a wreck emotionally. But we got it. Then 2 weeks later, he calls me. And he says, so we need to reshoot a scene. I'm like, cool, what scene are we doing? And he just looks at me. I said, dude, don't do this to me.
And you can either at that moment throw your hands up in the air and say, fuck this, and walk away, Or you can say, okay, this is an opportunity to get it more right.
I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, you don't think you got it? I'm gonna show you that you got it. We've got it in the can. And so we go through it again, and it just feels fake, feels artificial. And Neil goes, go through it again. We start doing it again, and I'm getting madder and madder with each take. And finally, about the fourth take,
this was the plan.
Neil comes over to me.
Wear them down.
I love him so much. He goes, so I'm picking up on some resistance. I was like, you're damn right you're picking up on some resistance. We've got this in the can already, and we're just wasting our time, and we're wasting all this effort and energy. And then he started talking me through the scene. And he was like, what I need you to do is I need you to just strip yourself of all these ideas, and I need you to hit this beat, and this beat, and this beat, and this beat, which just makes it sound so mechanical, and it's such an emotional scene. So we start going through it, and literally I am mindlessly doing these things at this point.
Okay? I know it hurts, baby. I know. So I'm gonna lift you up. I'm gonna lift you up. I'm gonna get you over here. Come on, baby. Come on, work with me, please. God, baby. Sarah. Sarah! Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on.
And he stops, he goes, now we got it. And I realized that the reason why I wanted that first take to work was because I wanted everyone to look at me and go, wow, what an actor. And that's not what the scene needed.
Those moments where you just have to sort of calm your ego down and just go back and do your work.
That scene actually works, not because of me, but in spite of me. And that really is the marker and definition of working with a truly good director.
There are many like it, but this one is yours. Why don't you have a seat?
Thanks, guys.
It's the director's chair.
Working on the project, we knew we wanted to have a pretty minimalist soundtrack. And we had a folder where we just throw music in there. Looked at the folder one day and we saw, we have a lot of stuff here from Gustavo Santaolalla. We're looking for a composer. What if we reached out to him?
Oh, no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know. Listen to me, I know this will be. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. I want to pick you up. I know, baby. I know it hurts. Come on, baby. Please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby.
Man, I didn't even have to see it, and I could just picture the scene.
My life has been and still is kind of like a road movie. I grew up in Argentina. I came to the United States in 1978 because we had a horrible political situation in Argentina. We had a military dictatorship where 30,000 people disappeared at the hands of the government, and many other more were tortured, and I was blacklisted. It was just impossible for me to keep on living there. I've been in jailed many times since I was probably 15 years old, just because I had long hair and I play an electric guitar. So I had to embark on this trip. I can relate to that kind of need of movement and going to the next place and the next place and the next step. I'm always attracted to the possibility of getting involved with a project from the very beginning. I like to work from the script and talking to the director.
It's never been, oh, give me a piece like this, or give me a music that's this. It's just been very high level. Here's what the story's about. Here are the themes. Go write some stuff.
Since I don't know how to really read or write music, the way I produce music is actually recording it. So I like to come early in the projects, and I did in The Last of Us. One thing that was fantastic from the very, very beginning was the freedom I had to try and to do whatever I felt could work, you know.
As the story
like
was
that.
still being
That's
written,
good.
you could
That
listen
worked
to this
out.
piece of music and just get a sense of where this needs
Goosebumps,
to
yeah.
go tonally.
Yeah, the
because
music.
the music was still inspiring.
very
the story.
important as well.
So that was the great thing of having the music written so far in advance.
You know, at the beginning, I mean, I was going really
And it's
out
very
with
minimal.
some things, and sometimes some of those things were the ones that
been
they
playing
liked
throughout
the
the whole
most,
thing.
you know. So I really felt very motivated to work, and I enjoyed immensely working.
It was this very organic back and forth experience where one element was inspiring the other and vice versa.
I needed to go into some more dark places, more textural and not necessarily melodic. I'm always trying to sort of push myself into playing instruments that I don't know how to play. There's an element of danger and innocence. Lennon once said, you know, give me a tuba and I will be able to do I'm an artist. I should be able to do something. I like to put myself in
Vladimir
that situation.
Lenin said that?
So these are just PVC pipes, the one used, you know, in construction. Or instruments that I know, kind of twist them from the concept of the prepared piano. You know, I mean, I've worked with prepared guitar to stick things into the guitar and things like that. And also in The Last of Us in particular, I work with a detuned guitar. So I really tune the guitar extremely low. And the result is, you know, strings that are very loose and will produce not only sound, but produce noise. Because I believe, you know, every environment has its own sound. We have in our, you know, small studio, we have actually the possibility to record almost anywhere, including the bathroom, and we have done some fabulous recording, especially in the kitchen. When you score to picture, which is something that I don't do, then you know what you're going to expect. But when you provide people with music, like I've done
You
in
better
all
hope
the films
recording
that I've
day-
done, and then you see it, how the director decided to use that, you know, in what particular way he uses or
Like,
where
you better
he
hope he's
edited.
not in the
It's always
bathroom on
fascinating
recording
to me.
day.
I
Be like,
watch
oh, I
a
really
scene
got to
and
go.
I'm
Oh,
going,
don't
you know,
worry. He's just making a
fantastic
soundtrack
how
real
they
quick.
use
Like,
this
what?
piece. I would have never, of all the music that I've done, probably I would have never used this piece there, but it works, you know, great. So I like that feeling of collaboration.
This reminds me of all the SnowRunner music, too, that amazes me. I need to find out how the hell they make the SnowRunner soundtrack. Nicholas, you're in chat. You're the SnowRunner expert. No, that's not even the right term. Something. I want to know how the hell they made all the SnowRunner soundtrack, because it always does make me think a little bit of Last of Us. Because SnowRunner's very minimalistic too, just like this game, where it's just a few. It's like a guitar, maybe a couple
I think,
guitars.
you know, the guys also that work in programming and adapting that music to the
my
game,
God.
they should share a lot of the credit for the end result.
In the beginning, there was silence. Yes. Then they hired sound designers.
Then the
they
dinosaurs
regretted
came.
that decision.
Crunchy snow.
Hold it steady. Ha! Got you!
In a much quieter environment like that, we really had to fill out the soundscape with much more natural sounds, much more detailed, delicate sounds. The tension comes from the lack of sound, in a way.
Your brain is thrown off because where I expect to hear buses and crowds, all of a sudden I hear wind and leaves rustling. Again, it's creepy and beautiful at the same time because it's almost like I'm going on a hike, but I'm in a downtown area.
Hire me, Neil, for Last of Us 3.
So Neil, I mean, we were going through the iterations. I mean, he
First
just
take.
did not want like yells and screeches and what he called like, you know, kind of witchy qualities,
Right.
the cackling witch. He didn't want anything like that. It was a little bit of a head scratcher to figure out, okay, how do we make it sound human but not human? We really did not want to use any animals. We wanted these all to be human. Derek and I basically
Ooh,
decided to
damn.
hire a couple of voice actors who did some interesting work vocally to see if they could come up with something. And we worked with this girl, Misty Lee.
She started giving us these really great screeches.
Sorry, Chad, I'm a little hungry.
Process.
Yeah, that's just her
I'm a little
voice.
hungry.
And it started going into this little click. We also used a little bit of Phil's voice. We combined that also with an occasional, Derek. That's just me, you know, moving my tongue. And what that kind of did was it sort of grounded it all, like maybe in the mouth area, the wetness, all that kind of stuff. And it adds a nice texture, actually. This is a composite of all the bits I just told you about.
Sounds like a Snapple bottle.
Oh, the lid?
Like the lid, yeah.
That's a good idea. Fuck, where were you guys like months ago? Why didn't we think of that? Why did we think of that?
These guys are cool.
Viewers at home, you're probably wondering what this is. Let me tell you. About 10 years ago, I saw this Synthy A suitcase synth. I wanted to get one. This finally arrived in January, just in time to start using. I thought, well, what can I do with this? In Lakeside, there's a whiteout that happens, and this thing has a noise generator, which gives really convincing wind sound.
That's how they made the frickin' wind noise in the blizzard at the coal mine? No effing way.
The military still has technology. There's sirens and alarms, so I wanted to try some new concepts.
Man,
What?
nothing. It's just I've never seen anything like this. That's all.
This is on the way to Billstown.
Woods?
Yeah. Never walked through the woods. It's kind of cool.
Bird. Pretty.
We consciously take in consideration lighting in the beginning.
Most of the game, we don't really have any real man-made light sources, so everything is naturally lit.
In the past, you know, we could use a lot of artificial
right.
light, but in a world that has no electricity.
We have to hide most of the time, and that requires getting very close to certain assets.
Just stay back.
Otherwise, can't.
Detail's expensive, and if you build up too much of it, you end up running into technical problems, right? Your engine slows down.
When the frame rate goes down, everyone can bring up the profiling tools and see which parts of the frame actually cause the drop of the frame rate.
This is the profiling tool. These are all the SPUs. Here's the GPU, and then here's the PPU. You can see, like, here's the main process, and here's all the sub-processes, and you can see, tells you, like, how many milliseconds and cycles it's taking. The programmers are whiz at modifying this stuff and realizing, oh my god, why is this thing so big? We're taking 10 milliseconds on this thing, and then that's when they come over and find somebody and hit them over the head with a club and be like, why are you doing this? I love, we put the 30 frames per second goal because that's what we shoot for. Someone nicely put the 60 frames per second goal. It's like, yeah, we're not going to hit that.
Lighters usually.
Well, this was
come
back
up
on
with
PS3,
Different
so-
lighting setup that still looks great, but is less costly in terms of performance.
Did you talk to the character artist about her hand? So her face is getting a lot of spec, but then her arm is just like bone dry.
You think something we can tweak in shader? We'll have to send back to character team Michael to take a look.
I can play with the lights and see if that's creates more like spec.
Yeah.
I've never ever focused so much on lighting and how much sensitivity there is to that here.
One of the first lighting scenarios I had to do was like 7 a.m. like overcast, and I'd like wake up early and like take photos with my phone. What color are the shadows? What color is the light?
It is a master's course unto itself of how to deal with ambient lighting because I've never had to use it so much.
Man, this is kind of sad.
What is?
All this music that's just sitting here. No one's around to listen to it. I don't know. It doesn't seem right.
All the characters cast soft shadows onto the environment. Even when there is no direct sunlight or no direct light sources, we still have nice fuzzy shadows.
When you're walking down the hallway and you see your soft shadow goes along with you projecting on the wall on the environment, that make everything look real.
Follow me through here.
Okay.
The flashlight brought a whole new spin on it. So some of the environments end up being really, really dark, and you need the flashlight to get around.
Give me a hand.
We want to have the environment be really dark, but also at the same time have colorful surfaces that are sort of hidden, so when a flashlight hits one of those, it bounces off onto the ceiling.
If you shine a light on a red wall, it will bounce the red lighting on the whole environment.
Never noticed
it's
that.
very difficult to do, very expensive, but we did it.
When was this game
Everything
released?
should have a bounce light.
2008?
Otherwise, the world is gonna feel dry
Let me check.
and unrealistic.
The original game. Oh no, 2013. It was 2013.
This is where the
It feels like a
assholes
million
sleep.
years ago.
I mean, slept.
It was June of 2013.
This engine is really driven in
So
a
they were
way
filming this
towards
stuff
a very high
in like
level
2012,
of cinematic
2013.
control over each frame. And hopefully, if we achieve our goal, you'll see it is beautiful. There are these truly beautiful moments amid all this chaos and
Man,
destruction.
2013 feels as far
Once
away
we're
as
done with this whole
2018
thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar.
did. Oh, the birds.
What do you say? Huh? Really, come on.
I got you.
This part's genius. This is an amazing part where they're just like, hey, we're gonna have you shoot upside down. Good luck.
Build stupid traps. There, that fridge. It looks like that's a counterweight.
Okay.
The story really dictates sort of the arc of the overall pacing.
Storytelling would
And they
always
make
want
the
to be
cameras
subtle.
upside
They would
down like
always
the
want to
whole
keep
time
the world
until
grounded
you
in
get
reality. But gameplay has
like,
requirements.
knocked
where
down.
The player needs to
Cut
see
down.
this thing. The player needs to immediately know that the
Yep, we're gonna watch
enemy
the
is
second one
attacking,
in just
that
a bit, as soon
room
as this is over.
dangerous, that this room is a puzzle that you have to
But I
solve.
haven't seen
What are
this
the
first
things
part, so I
that
wanted
we
to
can
watch
do
this.
on the joystick to make you feel the same way that these characters are going to feel when we get to this next pinch point in the story? There's a turn in a scene that we need these characters to take, and we need you to feel it or understand that, and that means you have to play it.
Sail! Oh, thank God. Keep running. Ah! Doorway, over there.
Run!
We really want to make sure that there's that contrast between the negative space and then the high tension spikes.
Oh, the hotel. No, I'm not
A lot of
okay.
times we won't play music.
Scared
We'll
the
play
S
very
out of me.
minimal music just to let you know kind of the state, whether you're still in stealth or combat has broken out. Hearing someone's footsteps or hearing a person breathing on the other side of the door has so much tension to it.
You hear that?
You feel the tension of the world, make you question whether you want to engage with these guys or kind of try to stealth around them.
That's another reason why we don't have traditional cover in the game. You smoothly move around everything,
What?
contextualizing
You guys have
the
waist-high
environment.
cover
You're never
everywhere.
locked
That's how you know
down.
boss battle's
We want
about to
the
go
player
down. Like,
to
waist-high
craft
cover
the
right here,
system with
sir.
the scavenging system with all of the abilities available to them to constantly be moving around and changing as
At
the
Naughty
moment
Dog, we
arises.
hate
Gameplay is all
waists
about I have a
and
limited
waist-high
set of
cover.
tools, and how am I going to use those tools and those limitations to overcome
Our
this
working
obstacle in
title is
front
Waist
of
High
me.
Cover
That
Simulator,
obstacle
but
might
Neil thought
be
that was bad, so we went with
infected,
Last of
might
Us,
be another class
I
of
guess.
humans that wants to kill me for a bottle of alcohol in my shoes.
It was important for us that we don't underplay the violence because then the threat doesn't seem as real.
We see video games as this incredible medium to tell stories. We want to treat it as equals to books or comics or TV or movies. This is subject matter that would not be considered out of the ordinary to tell in one of those other forms of entertainment.
Fucking honors. See, this could have been us.
Guy was lying.
We wanted you to buy just the desperation of these people and why they're behaving this way, because it's so brutal. And at the same time, we didn't want to make it so over the top, stylizing it, so then it doesn't become as real. It was important for us actually to hit that middle ground where it's kind of disturbing.
That glint that's happening on that curvature, it'd be good if there was a way that we can guarantee that from this angle, we're seeing it. It seems
but
really
it's
flat.
overall too bright and opaque.
Yeah, looks like paint.
Yeah, see, the blood on the ground works really well. It's something about the other shader is messed up in this environment. We got to fix that to unify the look.
Shouldn't make you giggle or laugh or any of that. You should be kind of appalled by what you have to do, but you understand why you're doing it.
You want to feel each hit. You want to feel each concussive strike. Lives are at stake.
You want a death animation to have impactful performance, not just have a guy keel over in a ragdoll.
In real life, a guy hitting a guy takes a half a second, but in the game world, you want that to be as instantaneous as possible.
I lived my whole life in this very ugly test level. I basically just fight dudes in here all the time.
Hell yeah, brother.
Almost every move is divided between like an intro and a swing. One of the many things I have to end up doing is like counting frames and being like, okay, on frame 18, I want you to get out of here. I want you to be able to start moving. Every hit reaction that an NPC plays, they are not necessarily in the correct pose. When you strike them the next time, we just pop them with a 0 frame animation change, which is usually kind of a no-no, you know what I mean? Normally you want characters to blend smoothly and realistically into animations. But what we found is that you can cover that pop up with a heavy impact. They can go from almost any pose into the pose that the impact starts from, and your eye just covers up the transition for you.
Not really.
So if you throw a brick at a guy,
I always...
it puts him
I could always
like
notice that
staggering
they're just snapping back and forth, but I'm okay with that because
changes the moves that you
it just
do
works. Arkham
when
is
you
like
come
that
up and
too. The
punch
Batman
him.
games.
So now I'm gonna come up and punch him, and now
And
when
the
you're
Mad
punching
Max
him,
game is like that too.
because you've hit him down.
But it's like
you
it
get
works.
This, like,
It works for a
auto-aim
game.
moment Where you get
Yeah,
like,
that's
a
my
free
purse.
headshot.
Sir,
I
that's
try to make it so that, you know, if you kind of know
That's what they
you're
told
doing,
this
then
guy.
you can
All right,
set
listen.
yourself up for
Your main
1
objective
+ 2 = 3.
is that this dude stole your purse. Oh, dude, I'm gonna make the best fight scene.
Memory on a console is a very precious resource. All of Joel's animations with every weapon, all the NPC animations, the stealth kills, you know, all of that stuff happening need to fit within a 4 meg to 5 meg memory footprint.
This is a list of everything that's loaded in game and how much memory it's taking, because memory is our most precious resource right now. So we have a level, we call it the bookstore, it's in Hunter City, and this is a zone, for example. So when I set an AI to this zone, he will never leave its boundaries. I want guys to guard this exit where you have to go through, so I'll zone a couple guys around there to make sure that they, you know, they can fight you and use all this cover, but they want to stay around this door.
I hate the bookstore.
This is another key component of the AI, is what we call the nav mesh. This defines the overall play space of where an AI knows he can or cannot go. Hey look, that's where a cover used to be, and there's a hole cut out for it. I gotta fix that. Here's some other wonderful things. See these little red polygons? Yeah, that means they're not linking right for some reason, so that means they can't really walk through here properly. It's a bug, and I need to fix it. Welcome to my life.
Love this guy. Love the passion, love the commitment. Fire him.
Hey!
Maximize profit margins.
If you look at a lot of games, NPCs are usually only alive for, you know, a few seconds before the player ends up shooting them and then they're dead. We want our guys to be much more dangerous and much more threatening, which means they have to be alive for
Okay,
longer
that's
than
cool
to,
because they definitely
exist
tried
in
to
the world
focus
for
on
longer,
that
which
more in
means
the
you as
second
player
game as
can
well,
witness
where
them acting
the
out
enemies don't
their
just feel like
behaviors for
NPCs, they feel like they're still NPCs, but they feel like an elevated threat, more intelligent.
So we've been working really hard on our AI systems. Back of the box, biggest bullet is going to be like AI.
It's
So we
pretty
tried a
clever
number
in
of
this
different
game.
prototypes with the buddies, including having Ellie be super independent of you. She would try to
Level
flank the
OSHA.
enemies, get behind them, or get between you and them.
And a lot of times those decisions should surprise you, just like a real person, a real character would surprise you.
And we discovered after many different prototypes, the best thing for her to do generally is to stay very near you.
You need the exploration, you need the scavenging, you need something to say like, okay, if we just crank it to 11 the whole time, then it's pinned up there and there's no time to breathe, no time to assess or analyze, and
Ellie
no
was
time
cool
to really
because she could help you.
contrast. There's no way
help you
of
fight.
shifting
Versus
pacing.
Ashley from Resident Evil 4. Oh, that's where we went. Like 2004-ish, we had Ashley. It was Help Me, Leon. 2013, we had Get Out of My Way, Joel. I'll kill
They're
him.
very simple and satisfying. Most
Right
of this
this way,
puzzle
young
is
lady.
strict exploration. You can see the ladder here. You can see the pallet there. You can see a clear route up to the ladder. So you're like, okay, maybe I have to get Ellie to the pallet, push the pallet over to this side, and like Ellie will climb up and lower the ladder. So that whole part is like, that's not a puzzle, that's not regarded as a puzzle, but when you feel like you've got to the solution and you're like, okay, I'm going to climb this ladder, and you climb it, and it breaks off, hopefully then the player will feel a little bit stumped and they'll be like, I'm not really sure what I am meant to do now. And so this is where the puzzle starts. Hopefully at this point, like all of the elements that the player needs to solve the puzzle are very familiar to them because they've been through the previous exploration beats.
God of War does this too, a little bit.
At the disposal.
I remember
That's a really
watching
sort of,
something on how they made
strong theme
certain
throughout, like,
elements for the
The Last
first
of Us,
game,
that you're a survivor, you'll take whatever tools you're given and you'll use them in like
where they
creative
give
ways to
you,
survive.
they make it easy at the start and then kind of want you to put those pieces together to make it feel like you're more in control. Boy. we should watch the making of God of War. So anyway, we were
set out to create something kind of new to Naughty Dog, this crafting system. Our lead designer, Jacob Minkoff, he got this book of like a survivalist handbook and homemade munitions and all sorts of funny stuff. Just start reading about, okay, if I was just wandering around in a collapsed society, this world, what stuff that seems like I could find? Alcohol and sugar, if you want to make a smoke bomb.
It's difficult to balance the right amount of resources.
Alcohol,
against
sugar,
what you
bullets,
think the player's going to need,
anywhere in America
and
would have that.
Making sure that the player feels like they're getting just enough to survive, but not too much that they feel like they're a powerhouse.
We wanted you to be forced to make some choices in the world that showed how depleted the resources were.
So if there's a particular point in the story where the characters are having a particularly difficult time surviving, then we want you as the player to be finding fewer items, farther apart, harder to survive. We will item starve you at the same time that those characters are feeling starved and worn out. Then you expose something to them. Oh, here's a cache, and if I can just get into that cache. Oh, look, there's a wealth of things in here. God, I was so worried. My health was low. If I had run into a combat, because it's always that thing in your head, it's that Hitchcockian thing about the danger that you see is less meaningful than the danger that's in your head.
Right, exactly. How horror movies work too. That's why Jaws is so good. You don't get to see Jaws for a long time.
When we're designing the levels, it's nice to have the stuff that we know people are going to encounter. We kind of call this some of the critical path stuff. These are the things that 9 out of 10 players are going to find. They're right in the way. It's where you have to go. And then whenever designing a level, you want to have that little nook and cranny, right? You want to reward the player being like, oh, you went over here. And then you also want to have that other second nook and cranny.
The player is supposed to go place a ladder here and climb up through the rest of the hotel. But what they can also do is shimmy across this area, and I place a really cool upgrade kind of off the beaten path to reward players for exploring. So if they come all the way over here, they're going to get this really cool training manual.
It's a funny little bit of trivia.
You can shimmy up those
the HUD
stairs?
system,
What the hell?
Not the menus, not like when you hit start and stuff, but the actual HUD system where you see the reticles and stuff was literally created for an E3 demo early in Uncharted 1, and that's been our HUD system, the foundation of our HUD system for the last 4 games. First time in Naughty Dog's history, we hired Alex. She's awesome, and she's got a really good understanding of UI and how it applies to games.
The thing that I hate about any game's UI is when it pulls you out of the game for too long. No one wants to spend time in menus. Nobody loves UI, if we're being honest. Like, weapon
Baldur's
slotting
Gate
has probably
3
gone
begs
through
to
more
differ, ma'am.
iterations than any other system. The stuff that we finally ended up implementing, you press select, you get into this menu, then you D-pad left and right through the slots, and then D-pad up and down will change the weapon, and then just, you don't have to press X or anything, you just select out of it. When you're still, like Joel is here, that's fine, but then as soon as you get into an actual situation, so I'm gonna go over here and cause some trouble. Okay, so here they come. Oh god. All right, so now I'm out of ammo. Now I need to like get back in that menu. I have to like run away from them, get into the menu, get out of it, and it ends up feeling like super clunky. Like again, okay, I'm out of ammo again. Get out of here. I need to take out one of my other long guns, and now Bill's in trouble. Bill's in trouble over here, and I've got to like I'm in a menu now, and it's like, oh shit, whoever designed this UI is so bad. Like, what were they thinking?
Dude,
Bill's
she's
gonna
like
die.
a real gamer.
In theory, it worked, but then in practice, it felt a little clunky.
We wanted it to be the absolute minimum amount of button presses. You don't say to yourself, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this in time, so I'm just going to give up. I'll die, I'll restart, let me try again. You want to always make the player feel that there is a way to survive. They can just do this fast enough.
And like what's gonna go in now, if you just left, right, D-pad through this stuff, you swap out your guns,
Yep.
like between long gun and short gun. If you're now on
That
this
was a
gun
much
and you were to
better
hold
UI.
X to pick your gun. So it all happens within the same system that
Yep.
you're using to
That's
slot
a
the
damn good
weapons.
UI.
The first iteration that I did on that was
Love that.
awful. It just took way too long to get in. It was just a mess. QA was so upset at
And the-
me like
and the
all
crafting
the
was
time.
very good,
and
too.
I'm sure they hate me now because of that system.
I think the way the industry is kind of maturing and changing in general, you're seeing a lot more focus and importance on refinement and polish. So having internal QA really helps. The industry
Fire
is kind
him.
of changing from QA being this like tighten up the graphics on level 3 bro kind of vibe to like really being a more technical, mental, investigative job. On the
Quality.
publisher side, it's more reactive
Disgusting.
towards
Marketing,
the
marketing,
code
marketing,
being
hype, release,
delivered
and then
in a
move on to the
stable,
next one.
controlled environment. Whereas on the
Well,
developer
released by
side, especially at Naughty Dog, we are going beneath the art and the design. We're given enough weight where we can go up to somebody and be like, look, you have to fix this. Why? Come over, I'll show you. That kind of feedback, I would love to be able to say like, that was us, but it gets so diffused throughout the iteration process that you're just kind of like adding your I guess like genes into the gene pool and then just seeing what happens, you know what I mean? Everyone's working all the time now. But like I tell people, like 7 weeks and then you can have tons of time off, enjoy the sun, you know? But for now, it's like, this is it for everybody.
That should be a name of a game, The Last 5 Weeks. Or that would be a great series about them finishing up games. The game's not finished. We need another 5 years. No, we're sending it. We'll call them the catering.
Crunching is been is part of making games. I feel it's human nature, right? If I'm gonna have a guest at home that's gonna come for a couple of weeks, I'm probably gonna clean their room just the day before they arrive, right? And I think it's the same thing. It's just like everything comes together at the end.
I personally enjoy crunch. I think you get this like absolute laser focus because it has to come together.
There's a camaraderie that also comes
There's a
together,
camaraderie, totally, yeah.
The vibe is everywhere, you know
Best
what I mean?
reality
Everyone's
show,
kind
yeah.
of like giving it 150% at this point.
We're getting there, right? You start to get these glimmers, and I don't think anyone who doesn't make games realizes how late in the process you get those glimmers.
1 week before we shipped that press demo, we're all like, this kind of sucks. what's going on here? It's like, we need to dig down and find this. And in 1 week, like 1 week, the fun came together.
Like you're shooting at a guy and then somebody flanks you and you hit him and you avoid the other guy who's shooting you and then you flank and go behind cover and you're like, oh, that 5 seconds in that 15-hour game was really, really
just
fun.
mention cover?
How do we make that 5 seconds happen thousands more times?
My favorite video game is making video games. It is as challenging and as complex and as interesting.
If we had to like try all the things that didn't work.
Am I gonna play the game
what's
after
hard
this?
about
No,
grunge?
probably
It's
not.
like
I just wanted to watch this and do something different on the channel.
Hey, nothing's ever really final because you can always make something better. Always. So we're constantly changing.
Well, we're
and
almost getting ready for the main event, the second part.
reiterating and trying to make it better and better and better, pretty much until we ship.
As an artist, you're never really happy with your work. You could be given like 100 years to work on something, you'll still find things to nitpick and things to fix.
Yeah, you can work on the game for 10 years and you'll still be crunching at the end. So it's like, okay.
All of a sudden, it's like getting ready one morning in the shower, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm about to ship another title, and this is going to be a really good title, and it gets you excited, and you're like, all right.
Do I think the game's gonna be good? Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I think it was good a little while ago, and now we're gonna make it
Extra
kind
good.
of amazing.
Yeah.
What it will take to get there in these next 5 weeks is gonna be a lot. I'm excited. I have faith.
Every time we're shipping a game, it's terrifying. You just hope for the best.
You don't know, right? I mean, like, people have different opinions. We have to go with our guts, and I trust the team just to pull it off.
Part 2 roguelite.
This
don't I have to buy
hands
that on
down,
PlayStation?
is
I
the
don't
hardest,
know.
most challenging
Maybe.
thing I've ever
Maybe in
done.
the future.
We sweat a lot and we worked a lot and we all went home tired, you know. But I think that's what's you're going to see that on the screen. I think that's going to pay off.
Ellie. Ellie.
What?
The ladder. Come on.
Right.
After David, Ellie's visibly distant. You could have done a cutscene to show, hey, you're being very distant, and she's not responding, but to also do that in gameplay to where it's something that you've done just countless times throughout the game with, you know, let me boost you up here, get the ladder, bring it down so we can do this systemic thing, and the character responds with that, and you have to actually go over to her and go, hey, come on, the ladder, we've done this, let's do this. It's a subtle choice.
Like Bruce and I talked in the beginning, is like we have these mechanics, how can we exploit them in a narrative sense? And that's one of those opportunities.
I just think it's incredible that happens in game. It's not a cinematic, you know. It's something that adds weight to that controller when they're playing.
Wow, so good!
Let's go eat.
Let's go eat.
Oh hell yeah, bro! Let's get some barbecue. Oh, it all ends with them just going out to eat and have barbecue? What the hell? I wanted to be invited 9 years ago. Okay, so that was how they made the first game. And it was a pretty good game. I think a few people may have enjoyed said title. All right, so years later, Grounded 2. So this was released about 5 days ago. It's already got 1 million views on how they made Last of Us 2. We've played Last of Us 2 on the channel. We played Last of Us 1 and all the... Actually, wait. I think we played Last of Us... we played Last of Us Remake or Remaster on the channel not too long ago. But we only played like the first part of it, like pretty much between, I think, the start of the game and then like when Tess gets killed and then they go into the subway system, I think. So anyway, now let's watch Grounded 2 making The Last of Us Part 2. This is like the main event now. Go. Oh, in 2016 they started production on that. Due to COVID, footage was left unedited. Until now. Let's better start with them eating barbecue.
Okay. Thank you all for what is about to be a very long presentation.
Thank you, chat. Wow, Neil looks disheveled and rough.
So Anthony and I ran some numbers, and to our best guess, The Last of Us Part 2 is 10 to 30% longer than Last of Us Part 1. However, this is the most detailed story presentation we've ever done. Like, if you think about the presentation for T1, where we kind of talk about the quarantine zone in somewhat detail, even though most of it changed, and then it's like, and here are some things that might happen with Joel and Ellie. They might go into a spore-filled subway tunnel. They might fight some cannibals. At some point, Joel will get incapacitated. This has everything figured out, even though it might change. Every character is accounted for. Every cinematic is accounted for in this presentation, which means it's going to feel twice as long as the first game. So when you freak out, that's normal. That's part of this. Oh, this is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So hopefully you got your pee break. Okay. So we open on 15-year-old Ellie. This is a few weeks after the events of the first game.
Spoilers. Surprise, surprise.
There's a doorway leading down to this basement, and Ellie sees Tommy, and he's just finished climbing out of this basement, and he's hurt bad, and he's rambling about something, needing to go after these people. Ellie's trying to ask him what happened, where's Joel, and he doesn't make any sense to her, and she starts to go downstairs. Tommy grabs her hand and tries to stop her, but he's too weak. She rips her arm away, and she heads down. And with each step, her heart races faster and faster as she sees this trail of blood. She opens the door, revealing Joel's mutilated body. And then shock just sets in, and she screams and tries to grab his body, and Dina comes and rips her away, and on that cacophony of sounds, silence.
Oh, this video is gonna be rough.
Oh, we're just getting started.
It doesn't need a sequel. Maybe I'll go over here. Hi. Man, Uncharted was so good. Uncharted was so fun. I'm glad they made so many of those damn games. And then
I've been working on this game since we finished. Well, really, been thinking about it since we finished The Last of Us.
So many people were like, Last of Us 1 is so perfect. It should never have a sequel. They shouldn't make a sequel.
They're like, oh, it wrapped up super great. But I think actually, if you look at the ending,
Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
Ellie is accepting a lie.
I swear.
Okay. She has a very good bullshit
such a
detector.
good
She
ending.
knows something doesn't feel right, but I think is too scared at that point to ask.
How long can you really live with accepting a lie like that?
The Last of Us feels like an origin story for this survivor in this post-apocalyptic world. Seeing like how Ellie has become such a strong, unique character, it really felt like, you know, if we were to do a sequel, it'd be a shame for it not to focus on her.
Move the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, once we're done with this whole thing, I'm gonna teach you how to play guitar. Yeah, I reckon you'd really like that. What do you say, huh?
Joel, he's gonna teach Ellie to play guitar. That always felt like that's just this like unanswered promise that like was kind of lingering at the end of the first game. We did this thing called One Night Live.
I remember
where we had
this.
the actors come on stage and reenact certain scenes.
So you say we get you to the Fireflies. What happens next?
Marlene, she said that they have their own little quarantine zone and that doctors are still trying to find a cure.
I wrote this new scene that takes place after the ending of The Last of Us, but it was only shown to people in the audience. Like, we cut off the stream right before we showed them the scene.
If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
Try and sometimes you'll succeed to make this man of me. Our future days, days of you and me. She's yours.
No. I don't know the first thing about this.
Hey, I promised you I'd teach you how to play.
That scene ends with Ellie holding the guitar and playing one note. And that image was so strong in my mind that I'm sure that kind of trickled into this idea of this trailer. So I started working on some concept art, kept fleshing out the story. And as it felt like it was kind of gaining momentum, Uncharted 4 needed all hands on deck.
Naughty Dog had always made one game, and as soon as it finishes one game, it works on another. When I started on Uncharted 3, we were starting to experiment then with trying to do 2 teams. After we finished Uncharted 3, I jumped onto Uncharted 4.
Yeah, oh my God.
At some point in time, Uncharted 4 was coming down to the wire, and it's just, we had to shift resources, and pretty much everyone just ended up on Uncharted, trying to finish it up.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, okay, before I come on like in full force on Uncharted 4, I just want to capture this trailer.
I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
I don't think this was in the game, though.
No evil.
This part was not in the game.
'Cause I'm blind to it all. Said I walk beside the still waters and they restore my soul, but I can't walk on the path of the right, 'cause I'm wrong.
During the entire production of Uncharted 4, that's all I could think about. I had a lot of investment in Uncharted 4, but the day we were done with Uncharted 4, went right back to that trailer to wrap it up. Anything for this shot that's still happening?
Not in animation.
Of the shadow of death.
This one feels kind of strong to me. Drawing a lot of attention. Can we tone that down?
Yep.
Actually, my biggest fear with this announcement is that it leaks early. More than anything, I have nightmares about this trailer leaking early before we get to PSX.
Oh, I remember PSX, PlayStation Experience. I think that's before they started State of Play because of COVID. Oh, and also, wasn't this part of, oh my God. Oh, dude. Oh, cool.
If we're going to surprise
Horizon.
people, PSX, the PlayStation Experience, hasn't set itself up yet as a place where big titles get revealed.
F to
That's
E3.
E3.
Rip to E3. That's a big F. Good job,
We're
Ellie.
revealing the Uncharted single-player content at the opening of the show.
You're late. I thought you were professional. Oh, you should relax. You'll live longer.
I want to play this too. This has got to be on my list.
No one's going to expect a second Naughty Dog title to be revealed in the same press conference.
Please welcome to the stage, Sean Layden.
There's one more special unveil we have for you tonight. Please enjoy it.
This guy points with his thumb.
When we first revealed The Last of Us, the Naughty Dog logo came up and the crowd erupted, and it was such a high that that's almost been like chasing the dragon, like wanting to recapture that feeling.
Oh my God. Why does this look like the Last of Us 2?
Freaking streamers.
Playing it at this surprising moment, I'm hopeful it will have a similar feel.
I told you clean your damn room 20 minutes ago, young lady. No 9mm ammo for you
doing,
tonight.
kiddo?
People outside the studio have such an attachment to the first game, and I've definitely seen fears about not wanting to make a sequel because somehow if it's bad, it will tarnish your feeling about the first game.
I'm gonna find. And I'm gonna kill. Every last one of them.
We're doubling down on those fears and not calling it The Last of Us some subtitle. It's The Last of Us Part 2 to say it's all one story.
That was pretty cool. I remember that reveal, and I was like, no way. What the hell are they going to do?
The concept for the sequel had to feel compelling enough, have enough weight that felt like, okay, this is an experience worth creating, worth spending the next 3 years on. I became really intrigued with the idea of the cycle of violence and how like certain events would trigger acts of violence that then would beget more acts of violence.
It's almost never satisfying. It never brings the person you love back. And despite you thinking it's going to bring some closure, it doesn't.
We just need more empathy. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could create an experience that lets you safely explore those feelings? With that theme, all of a sudden everything fell into place and this outline emerged. The whole catalyst for what starts the second game is Joel killing the doctor.
Right.
That feeds right back in that idea of that cycle of violence. Now it sets up this whole kind of sequence of events. We're gonna start the game where you're playing a new character. That sequence ends with this character killing Joel. And we really have to paint her as this monster. Then when you play the next chunk of the game and you're Ellie and you're gonna pursue justice, quote unquote, and you're gonna go kill this entire crew, we're gonna go back in time and show you that same sequence of events, this character that you saw as a monster, to now get you to see things from her perspective. And how this crew is a bunch of people trying to survive in this world. And they had their reasons for pursuing
art.
And finding Joel and killing him.
Love concept art so much.
And the story was becoming very epic and ambitious. And I had a few parts that I was kind of stuck on. And I felt like to kind of shake things up, I wanted to bring in another writer.
Are these events still happening? There's E3's
I
dead,
thought it
but
was a very thoughtful story about violence and obsession.
We cover anytime they do something
He had
big.
Abby, sort of like this girl who was the daughter of the doctor. And that Ellie would go on this vengeance quest. And when he was like, and then Ellie actually kills Abby, I was like, what? You're gonna... Yeah, let's fucking do it.
Not only is she contributing in a lot of ways, I feel like she's challenging what this story can be. She's wanted to add more romantic intimacy between the characters. Those are areas that I've been, I don't know, more uncomfortable writing that stuff. After the first day, she was telling me that she went home and told her husband that, I think I just got Ellie's girlfriend pregnant. Because that was her big idea the first day, and that had this trickle-on effect and actually added a lot to the story.
Ellie is this very relatable character. I thought she was a perfect vehicle to challenge this notion that violence doesn't have a cost, because it does have a cost in reality. It's going to ruin this girl. You know, people love Joel and Ellie, and we are about to kill one and make the other one a villain.
I was very nervous telling Troy we're going to kill off Joel. In the first game, he was advocating that Joel should die.
When I read the ending to part 1, I was like, you're gonna piss a lot of people off.
Let me go.
Marlene is the closest thing to a parent that Ellie has had outside of Joel.
You just come after her.
A lot of people got hurt, and Marlene would be one of those people.
Joel has crossed these moral lines, and therefore he deserves to die, and he thought it might be a more dramatic ending. And I was like, no, you're crazy. Like, but then in the second game, that's why I was like, thought like, oh, he would take it pretty easily.
He goes, so Joel dies, and he's like, and so this happens, and then and I literally had to stop. I was like, can you give me just a second? Because it literally was as if someone was telling me about how my friend had just died.
I think he kind of took it hard. It was like the character meant so much to him. We're gonna kill off this character. His role is gonna be much smaller on this one.
All of a sudden, it was, please don't take this from me yet.
Ellie is scared to be alone. Everybody that she's loved up until that point, she's lost them.
It's hard to imagine the story without Joel dying. Like, you feel that hate, Ellie feels that hate. You're one-to-one, you're on the stick, and that informs the rest of the story.
This way, come on! You okay?
Yeah.
We get you through interactivity to really connect and empathize with this character.
You act like you heard of us or something.
And then make you feel like I've led Joel to a trap.
Don't fear change.
When we started out making Last of Us Part 2, Neil actually wanted to be very ambitious about changing the game almost entirely. In the first 4 or 5 months, the game was actually kind of an open world, inspired by
Wasn't this
Bloodborne.
guy the one in charge of fighting earlier? Oh, they made Bloodborne. Okay. They wanted Last of Us 2 to be like Bloodborne? Are they high?
And it was purely melee focused, it was all hand-to-hand combat.
Block, parry, a machete with your letter opener, yeah.
It wasn't just the melee combat, we were also looking at sort of layout structure.
They do have a little
Bloodborne
open
had
world
a very
section though when
sort
you
of
get
an
to Seattle at
open
the beginning.
space that sort of kept getting bigger and bigger as you explored. I really like that feeling that you get of mastery over the world. It starts to become kind of almost a character in the game itself. And so that was also something we were looking at.
Fox loves this game, it looks cool.
We started out making it as different as humanly possible from the first game as we could, and then kind of dialing it back. The open world thing didn't work with the story that we were trying to tell and stuff.
So in pre-production, we spent a lot of time just doing setups.
I've got your back.
Self-contained sort of units that tried to expound on a single sort of idea.
Oh my god.
Trying
Wait,
to start out with sort of
swim?
simple shapes and building up to more complex shapes. And starting out with 1 or 2 mechanics and building up to those mechanics.
Ooh, explosive arrows.
Even our experiments, we try to add as much context as we can. We establish a goal that you're going to be going for. We establish beats so that there's an emotional journey, the stakes are raised. Figuring out some traversal stuff, a lot of climbing and balance beams and seeing how far we can sort of push
section,
in that direction without it getting
Going
over the
across
top
that
like
crane
Uncharted.
is freaking terrifying.
More sort of verticality.
They did a good job with the
more use of grass and stealth.
with this part.
My name is Arnaldo Licea.
And what do you do here?
I do design.
I know. How long have you been doing that?
A day.
You've only been
I got
working
an
every day?
opportunity to work in QA, and that was That was a great learning experience. I shipped The Last of Us and Uncharted 4.
The thing I'm proudest of is the people who came in to a quality assurance job as a contractor, which is entry-level work, and used that job to get to where they ultimately wanted to be.
When I interviewed for the QA position, I specifically said that my goal was to be a designer.
He had formed this relationship with design where they knew they could rely on him, spending his free time designing a demo, and at the same time, him going to them and not being like, here's 50 bugs you need to fix. He went to them and was like, what do you need? How do I help you? What kind of bugs do you need? And for their part, they embraced him and were like, why don't we show you how to lay out nav mesh?
I am anxious to prove myself. There is no babying when you start. You just hit the ground running.
Hold on. Look at this. That's a true gamer right there. Look at that dent. That is headphone hair. And that affects gamers everywhere. Time Raptor, welcome to our public service announcement for Gamer Dent. It affects 9 out of 10 gamers worldwide. Look at that. That is the dent. Even this guy's got a little mini dent. This guy. It affects us all. At least those with lush and lavish heads of hair. Those of you who are bald, you're lavish and lush too, but you don't have to deal with the problems and the strifes of gamers with lion-like manes. You guys are lucky. Those of you looking like Hitman, you're lucky.
Myself, there is no babying when you start. You just hit the ground running. If I don't cut it, I go back to QA or find something else. We're trying to figure out at the moment how we handle big spaces, bigger than the first game.
Everybody's got headphones on.
The enemies are so too spread out to be really considered like one single small encounter.
Look at these glitches.
And seeing what behaviors we need to start developing for them to make it look good.
This game looks bad.
The opening of Seattle, that whole section was pretty slow and quite linear in the level design. Let's assume that there's guys in this building, someone's starting to shoot at me from the second floor. So, okay, if I'm on the horse and I'm getting shot at, I can't take cover with the horse, so probably first thing I'm gonna do is jump off. And that's slow and clumsy, and maybe we can make that faster. It's like, but once I jump off, I'm gonna wanna take cover behind something. It's like, okay, I'm taking cover. Now what the fuck do I do with this horse? I assume the enemies are going to shoot at it. If they don't, that's kind of weird. Does Dina ride off with the horse?
You look like Dr. Disrespect from Wish. You wish you looked this good.
Horse to help it stay safe. Well, that sucks because I'm trying to build a relationship with Dina, and if my partner leaves me, that makes me like her less. I'm like, okay, so Dina has to get off the horse and take cover with me and help me engage with the enemies. Okay, but the horse is still there, so what happens with this horse? Does it ride off on its own in order to like protect itself and then come back after? Oh, that feels too intelligent for a horse. That seems a little funny. As soon as there's range combat, the horse kind of makes it fall apart. What if we did this whole sequence on foot? How do I approach this building? Imagine this is more dense with cars and ferns.
You killed
and
off the
interesting
best
ways for me
character
to
in
close
Last
this
of Us
distance.
twice, the horses.
Maybe when I get close enough, 2 militia guys come out. I have this little firefight with this front before I could rush forward and go into this building, climb up, and take out the sharpshooter that was harassing me. Really simple, small fight. Now there's tension. Guys can come from anywhere, like from this rooftop, from these windows. And that really inspired us to take some pretty drastic changes as far as the flow, inserting more combat, opening up the layout to give the player more options as far as how they explore.
Wait, what are these notes? You literally wrote on a piece of paper, then took a piece of paper, uploaded it to your email via JPEG, and then now you're loading your email in a presentation. What the hell is going on at this company?
The city. You can imagine this as being kind of the hub with it poking into streets, and I could go into the streets and explore and find those locations, what we're kind of calling dungeons. So that's the plan. Some of these changes are big, but it got us excited.
Like no
this
fighting
feels like
in
a
this
true
area at all.
Evolution of T1 as far as going more systemic and giving you options.
If there's concern, it's about scale, it's about scope, it's about can we actually build this thing?
The scope is always bigger than the last game. It always has been. It always will be, probably. But this scope on this game is something pretty extraordinary.
Everyone seems to agree that the thing we're building is going to be cool. Once it's done, it's just that it's such a big game.
Our games have become more and more ambitious, and the studio has gotten a lot bigger.
When I started here, we were 40 people. Now we're over 300. You can't handle that many people with a flat hierarchy. As we grew, we've had to introduce new titles just to control management, control communication, make sure things don't fall through the cracks.
We have no producers at Naughty Dog.
There's so many talented people here that you can rely on and lean on. It makes the game better. And that's really kind of the secret sauce of Naughty Dog, is how collaborative it is.
You find the right people who really want to do the best they can possibly do, and then you kind of give them the resources to try. You're getting what you asked for as a creative person, right? You're kind of getting the freedom to go as far as you can go, but sometimes I think we need to be saved from ourselves a little bit.
With The Last of Us 2, there's a real sense of opportunity. This is going to be a much cleaner production than we've done in the past. We're going to get it right this time. This is the first project that has had the proper pre-production period, where we have locked down, for the most part, the story beginning, middle, and end before we started production. That hasn't happened. I don't know if that has ever happened, now that I think about it.
It's a very, very messy process, which is, again, why it's a lot of times really difficult to schedule. I think right now we are planning on springtime of 2018. So when springtime 2018 comes around, The Last of Us 2 isn't in stores.
This game
you can look back
come
at
out
this
till
and say, well, I guess their plan wasn't exactly set in stone.
Nope. External pressure.
Historically, we've done very poorly at being efficient without the pressure of an external deadline.
Every time we have some showing of our games, if it's going to be seen publicly, it's got to be one of the best looking playing things in the industry. For example, the first trailer was coming online, and that forced us to define the look of our game, define the location of where the game takes place, define Ellie's look and her age and her hair and her outfit. We're forced to make those choices. We can't just keep iterating because there's a deadline.
We want to try and schedule the game using these milestones as soon as possible.
Which means we got to keep the marketing rolling, which means next E3, 6 months away, we need to look at a gameplay demo.
E3, it's always been the biggest and most extravagant showing of the game industry. There's
E3.
something special about
E3 was
the
good.
energy of E3.
We need to figure out what the gameplay is, because right now it's just we've got a bunch of cool prototypes and stuff like that, so it's scary. But we work well under pressure.
We're hoping to be really aggressive and show at E3 2017 just to really kick the project into gear as fast as humanly possible.
We want to break it up into a roughly 2-minute cinematic, a flashback sequence that will set kind of emotional context for what will then go into a 5-minute gameplay sequence. We want to do this festival within Jackson. Like there'll be like a live band, and we're just seeing people lively having fun.
And for the crowd, are you thinking 30 plus people?
Frank says we could do a 30 variation. I think we can make that work with 30.
Yeah.
Dina pulls Ellie onto the dance floor. Ellie's dancing with her, is making all these guys jealous, and then Dina says, "You want to make them really jealous?" And she leans over and kisses her. And on that, we do a hard cut to Ellie in the middle of the woods. So the idea is we shouldn't see any buildings, just woods, water, ankle-deep water rushing underneath her.
What about rain? Are we still doing rain?
I haven't discussed it with the other guys, but...
That demo that we show externally for the very first time is setting the bar for the rest of development. But the problem is we're also working on Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy.
So E3 is June 13th, which means probably we want to be done, what, like 2 weeks before that, which is 4.5 months from now.
With Lost Legacy shipping at around the same time of E3, there are shared resources between the two projects.
especially sound and particle effects. So they were all on Uncharted.
When it comes to the polish phase, both we're polishing this and that and SPDLC at the same time. I don't think there's any specific item that needs to be worked on, but I think there's going to be programmer time doing both those things. And
there are going to be times when it's like this needs polishing in E3 and this needs polishing in SPDLC, and like we're going to have to compromise at times maybe.
We kind of just didn't have it at the forefront of our minds that, yeah, they're frickin' shipping a video game. It's literally the hardest part of making the game is shipping it. And we were trying to ship a demo, the second hardest thing you can do, at the same time, and sharing a lot of their resources.
So one thing would be helpful is to find out what are the items that you feel like you're most worried about. Like, let's say rain. We could do this thing without rain. So if that helps you a ton, we can make the decision now to remove rain.
It would definitely help.
How about wet hair? Well, if she's going to be swimming, then we can get around that, right?
How about no swimming?
Puts on a cap.
if her hair.
I got like a really clear energy of the meeting, which was how do we shrink it? It was such an impossible task. You can't help but start feeling some doubt, some anxiety about the leadership, not understanding the logic of it. I think like anybody else here, I was definitely ready to roll up my sleeves and figure it out.
This could have been an email.
We're going to try to keep this pretty short.
Yeah, the following day.
I guess. So after yesterday's meeting, there were a lot of side conversations, and there was sort of a sentiment about how much work there was to get not only this demo done to ship the Lost Legacy, and it matched up with feelings that we were having. So we started discussing the responsibility of actually attempting this, and started to feel that it was a little bit irresponsible. That if we were to try to meet both these deadlines, we could probably do it, but we would end up doing a lesser job on both projects, both deadlines, than we would if we were doing them individually. And feels like they're both important enough to give them the due attention.
Yeah,
so
Neil mail.
The conclusion that definitely is there is that the demo that was discussed yesterday will not be presented at E3. Yeah.
Does it mean that our main point should be just focusing on more shipping before?
The Lost Legacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, we should still try to. We don't, like I said, just want to just completely halt work on this, and all hands on deck on Lost Legacy.
The idea is still to finish the demo, just to give us a buffer, so that these two deadlines aren't overlapping. Okay. It's just now we have more time to work on this demo properly without the pressure. Once that meeting happened, it was just like, right, of course. I'm not in the Twilight Zone. It makes sense not to do this. It felt really nice seeing the leadership kind of having the team's back and seeing the logic of the situation in front of them.
That's it. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay, so are you pissed off?
Am I pissed off? No. What am I?
He is. That's why he didn't announce
I guess in one
himself.
sense it's relieved.
That's why he had the president make the announcement, not Neil.
There was concern of whether we could hit the quality that we know we need to hit for both
Neil, you were in that whole meeting.
Lost Legacies and for what was going to be our E3 demo. And then on the other hand, it's kind of disappointed because I was excited to get this demo done and get it out there and get the reaction, but now it's going to have to happen at some other point.
What we've decided to do is deliver the demo at around the same time, but that's going to be purely internal, and the demo won't be 100% shippable. Gameplay and design and animation are going to be locked in June. Then we back off, we finish Lost Legacy, and then resources free up to finish the particle effects, the lighting, and the sound. And then we ship just the glossiest, best looking demo you've ever seen. We burn that to a disc at the beginning of January, and then we don't touch it again. And nobody sees it until E3. It's going to be really interesting to see if we can really, really commit to being done, 5 months, 6 months in advance of E3, and not be tempted to say it could be a little better, let's go back.
I'm writing stuff.
And we really just need to have the discipline not to do that.
But that then left us as like, okay, what's our next marketing beat? What are we going to show next from this game?
So now we have a new plan where we're going to release a cinematic around PSX time. I think we're going to do it at the Paris Game Show.
This seemed like a pretty intriguing scene to introduce Abby. That whole scene is going to be our next marketing beat. And then we're not going to say much about it, about how this fits into the game, where it fits into the game.
Another perspective.
Abby evolved over time, and if you look at the concept art, like the character looked very different than where we've ended up. And I don't remember at what point we decided to go with someone like really kind of muscular and broad, but I remember once the idea came up, it felt very fresh.
Once we sort of nailed down the body of Abby, we played around with different ideas of how we wanted to accentuate her arms or not.
And there's something interesting in Abby feeling a lot like Joel.
No.
So when I got cast, Neil was like joking around and he's like, you should probably beef up in order to play her. And I'm like, ha ha, ha, yeah, it's mocap, whatever. And he goes, no, really, you should probably beef up to play her. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I should totally start deadlifting as much as possible. So I did, and I was training like crazy. And then I got pregnant. What are you gonna do?
You know,
we need to separate her from Ellie. It
happened.
shouldn't feel like I'm playing a reskinned Ellie.
That
Abby should, in many ways, look, behave, fight differently.
God, he's beating the hell out of Trunchbull. I forgot these Trunchbull fights.
No!
Oh!
So in gameplay, we've discussed,
yeah,
well, she needs to have a different upgrade
Combat's
trees.
good.
It means we have to make the investment of capturing a whole different moveset for Abby. We can't just
Combat in
remap
this game
Ellie's
is really
animation
fun.
onto Abby.
Holy fuck.
Abby has a
this
fear of
part-
height, and
oh,
there's stuff we're doing with the camera to make you feel vertigo. And that helps build empathy. It makes this character real.
Well done.
We let you both live. And you wasted it.
She's aesthetically a very intriguing and iconic and powerful character.
Abby, who are these kids? They saved my life. Can you take a look at her?
Once she's killed Joel, what is Abby's motivation? What is she trying to achieve? Her redemption is really taking care of Yara and Lev, these two kids that are from a warring faction.
You know, she has been taught to hate them. There is an inherent xenophobic reaction to them. It's about saying, can you come to love your enemy?
Scars built all this? Seraphites. Yeah, I was gonna say that.
These are kids that grew up in a very different context as Ellie, and, you know, how they live their lives and experience the world is totally different.
Got your present.
I'm getting really attached to Lev. He's been able to keep his head up despite losing so much himself in a world that is so harsh.
We're taking too long. Can't move any faster. We won't do your sister any good if we're both dead.
I really like his dynamic with Abby. Her having this, like, fucking brassy little sidekick who calls her on her shit in a way that nobody else can.
What's going on between you and your friend Owen?
Oh my God, Lev, now?
It seemed really awkward.
Just go!
Who understands the sort of sense of being orphaned in the way that a lot of people can't.
How long have you two been on the run for?
2 days.
What the hell did you do?
I shaved my head.
They want to kill a little boy because he shaved his head.
I am not trans, so it's a very delicate thing to tell a story of an experience that I've not had. And that's something that we want to take seriously.
Did you hear what they called me?
Yeah.
Do you want to ask me about it?
Do you want me to ask you about it?
No.
Okay.
It's really about trying to create a multifaceted character who is trans, and that is absolutely an important part of who he is, but also a part of who he is, not the whole of who he is.
As far as the Paris cutscene, I'm pretty stressed out. We have 13 days less than 2 weeks to finish this thing, and there are still some big ticket items. Lost Legacy turned out to be a much bigger project than we originally envisioned, but now that it's done, everyone is now on board.
We've got the Greenlight demo done.
She's putting on quite the show.
Hey, that's Jesse.
It's very real. We're in full production now, so I guess that's the short of it, is we're in full production now.
Misdirection. Why do you guys think they released
Hey everybody,
this? To
PlayStation's
hype up,
live at Paris
season
Games Week
2 of the
2017. We've got a huge show for you
live action
starting
series, or do you
now.
think there's an announcement for 3 coming soon? Kind of seems like an odd choice to just randomly release the.
Wow, what a great way to open Paris Games Week. Let's have the first in-depth look at a much anticipated and exclusive title.
Last of Us 2. Last of Us 2. Please, please. Please do Last of Us 2.
Our fans, they want to know every last thing about what's going to be in this game.
Is this The Last of Us?
Neil has taken the way, he kind of creates an arc, or like this sense of drama, this kind of sense of mystery, or like dramatic tension, and crazily has brought it to marketing.
I view marketing as part of the game. It's very calculated what we put out there and how we want you to connect different marketing assets.
Reinforce remaster sales for PlayStation.
When we first
5.
released the teaser trailer,
Might be right.
too many people
Could be a
right
money
off the
move.
bat said Joel is
Money or
dead.
PR.
The blown out light really fucked us in a way I don't think any of us saw coming.
We actually underestimated our audience a little bit. They're so sophisticated now, so you have to get more sophisticated, like how am I still going to surprise players and viewers?
You start on characters you've never seen before in a world that could be The Last of Us, could be anything. That creates a really, really cool sense of tension.
At no point are we going to market that you play as this other character.
What is this? Yo, that looks good though.
I was so excited about working on it, and I couldn't say anything. It was so rough.
Oh, is she gonna cut a baby out of her belly?
And then Uncharted 4, you find a comic book that shows Ellie's mom pregnant. So people already had theories that Last of Us Part 2 was going to have Ellie's mom. Oh, if we just kind of black out the letters, she has the same number of letters as Anna, Ellie's mom's name, we'll get people to think this is Ellie's mom.
Oh my God. Girl's got a good... That
Pop a
hammer's from the
watermelon.
Outbreak poster.
So we had that poster with the forearm of a character you've never seen before, with this kind of wolf's head in the background. What does that mean? Kind of prompting this mystery.
You want people to feel like they've figured everything out and then have the story surprise them.
Man, if this is The Last of Us 2, bro, I'm gonna go crazy.
Bro, look at his Killzone 3 shirt. Killzone 3 is good.
Last of Us 2?
Yes! Yes! Yes, bitch! Yes! I fucking knew it!
Everything that we put out there is shaping expectation. And then the final game, hopefully, if we do our job right, should subvert those expectations in an interesting way.
Was that Ellie's mom?
We knew we were pushing boundaries with that cinematic. We are making a violent game. We're not going to shy away from how violent it is. It is part of what we're trying to say. And I thought it was a great discussion initially about what is the appropriate level of violence. When is something so violent that it just turns you off where you just don't want to experience it at all? I like that they were wrestling with those things. I didn't like some of the insinuations about the trailer being misogynistic towards the female characters.
I don't think this story ever glorifies violence against women. There's no bias towards women or men. It just so happens that the two protagonists of this story are female.
Yeah, you
and
you
therefore
kill
that's
everybody
what you're
in
going to
this game,
see
so that's fine.
the most of.
You
There
kill
has to be fail
everybody in
states in
these
video
games,
games, which
it's
means
fine.
a character has to be capable of being hurt.
Nice. All right, there was the ending, guys.
So does that mean that there can be no female protagonists in video games? Because that feels super sexist to me. And frankly, women are the victims of violence, and don't we want to see women fucking fight back once in a while?
I forgot about this part.
That character, her hand getting hurt, it has consequences for hours of gameplay to come.
Yeah, she gets
one article even like
compartmental
asked
syndrome or
the
whatever it is.
question, were any women involved in the making of this? And it's like, yeah, the co-writer, the lead character designer, the lead character artist, all the actresses that worked on that scene.
I am so fucking. Here's what I hate about that article. I'm sorry. Do a modicum of fucking research, just a modicum of research, just like a little bit before you put something out there to suggest that no woman could have worked on this because of the level of violence, because there was violence against women, because it is a video game, is so fucking sexist. I like watching graphic violence. Does that make me less female? Like, I like having a conversation about what power is. Does that make me less fucking female? I like working at a video game. I like playing video games. Does that make me less fucking female? Like, suck a dick. Don't put that in. I can't. I can't. Neil's gonna say put it in, but don't.
That's what
I also don't represent all women, but I represent, like, I can represent this and say, I fucking wrote this. I wrote this. Like, I literally wrote the sentence, and then Yara eviscerates eviscerates his esophagus from his throat. I wrote that sentence. That is in the script, and I fucking stand by it. I'm afraid of being turned into a token rather than the truth, which is like, we're being thoughtful about the female narrative. These characters are more than just their vaginas. If you want to have a serious debate about feminism and feminism in video games and female depiction of violence, and you need to not see it as a binary conversation. It is an incredibly nuanced conversation. You cannot make blatant statements, and you cannot make presumptions. Fucking do your homework. I'm right here. I'm tweeting.
This scene was all me, I, me. What about the team? What about the product that you're making? It was just a me, I, me. What about the team?
The tone of the violence in the game has always been important to portray as realistically as possible.
Our job outside of just drawing up concepts is really pushing our reference pipeline to make sure that the character artists are getting the most realistic examples of whatever they're working on.
Everyone else here is talking about the team and the game.
We can't find certain things, so we make the reference ourselves.
Simulating brain on wall.
1, 2, 3.
How does that drip fall down?
What does canvas look like when it's soaked in blood? Splashing blood on them, dripping blood on them.
Oh, cool. Nice. How they came up with different ways for that.
We put down some wet mud, pooled blood onto it to see how blood would react to a wet dirt surface. So there's like little pieces of grass and like twigs and things that carry through, like there's actually movement following the edge.
One of the animators got a piece of lamb and we stuck it in Yara's shirt sleeve and hit it with a hammer.
No. Here we go. Flip her wings.
Yeah, we have a break. She's gonna need to hold this as straight, because if she does this, it's gonna, you know, just the weight of it's gonna want to make it fold. So I'm trying to keep it as straight as possible. This past week's shoot was specific for the infected eating people's jugulars, and there was a concept that was done with like blood running down the mouth, but like, would that happen? Like, let's find out. I got on the ground and pretended to eat away at like a bloody soaked rag that we made. It produced some
Bro,
pretty
get a hamburger.
surprising results because
God,
like
I've
most
been that
of my
hungry,
face
but
got
damn.
covered in blood.
Look up a little, John, but yeah. Teeth? People here will go to that length of trying to make sure that things feel as real as possible. Yeah, we do a lot of crazy stuff here. Nobody gets hurt, but
There's a lot of we here.
it's really hard to see these characters that you spend so much time with and, for lack of a better word, kind of like, you know, birthing into existence, tortured and abused.
The death of Joel Miller.
We're shooting the Joel death scene, which is like the catalyst, the opening of the game. This scene has all of Abby's crew. It's a complicated scene because it's the most actors we've ever had in a single shot.
Y'all act like you're hurting us or something.
It's because they have.
Or Joel doesn't die.
Just me out.
Now that you got that.
Well, that's sorry, yeah. Minor line
So
change.
then what happens is
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of us become friends. Knowing what was going to happen and knowing how it was going to happen, I got very fearful.
I can't get over
There's
that
so
scene.
much weight to this scene. This scene has to be right. It's really difficult to reshoot it if we need to. Within the first game, having to call Troy and Hannah back to reshoot Sarah's death was very, very, very difficult for me.
The last time I tried to do a big emotional scene,
Don't do this. Please don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. Please, God, no. Oh, God, no.
that didn't go too well, and we had to reshoot it. Don't do this to me, baby.
Well, it's an important
Don't
scene.
do this to me, baby. Come on. How the hell am I going to play this? Like, how are we going to do this? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the chops. Am I going to put Laura through this? Because I know how hard it's going to be on her.
Audio. Camera. Speak. Rolling.
Take one, Mark.
Action.
Joel Miller.
Who are you?
Guess.
Why don't you just get out whatever speech you rehearsed?
Get this over with.
You don't get to rush this.
At the end, I really loved what he brought to it.
I couldn't wait to get back into Ellie's shoes again because it's where, weirdly, I feel most comfortable in a lot of ways because it feels like a character that feels the most like me that I've ever played, which is a little disturbing. I mean, minus like the murder and the killing.
Sounds like a bit of step forward, like you're about to like lunge and shoot.
Sweet.
The biggest change that has happened since initial pitch is Ellie is there when Joel is killed. It used to be she came across the body, and then she had to rely on Tommy's testimony of what happened. And we shifted it, which made it much more dramatic and intense for her. And I think puts more of it on screen and again, allows you better to understand why she needs to pursue these people.
The hardest part for me was looking over at Ashley.
No! No!
Knowing that Troy was gonna not be a part of it as much was really hard. And knowing that Joel was not gonna be in Ellie's life anymore, it was hard. So much of that day kind of feels like a blur because there were so many feelings involved in it.
What I had to do, I felt was very, very little. There's one reaction, and beyond that, we're on Ashley. There was no acting. There was pure raw emotion. I'm staring in the face of that.
Joel! Why are you doing this? Get the fuck off me!
I'd lost a little bit of my voice. I couldn't scream like as loud as I wanted to, you know, to get that frustration and that sadness out.
Ashley was behind, crying, and God. And knowing Abby was taking this away from her was very difficult. And so I was crying when we were filming that scene. Yes, it was very emotional. You want what I want, right?
End it. Now.
Wait, please stop! No! No! Joel! Joel! No! No!
We want him to die in this really unforgiving sort of way. Like, it needs to feel senseless for you to say, fuck these people, I'm gonna pursue them to the ends of the earth and make them pay. If the scene doesn't work with what we captured on the stage, almost nothing we do in post is gonna make it work. Joe will take a pass at the scene, and I'll give kind of high-level notes.
But he's doing it without animated cameras, without character models, without environment. And so it's a bit of a guessing game to see if this will work.
So I like the concept. I felt like there was a lot of repetition and it felt long. Once like Joel's head gets smashed, I don't want a close-up look of him.
Okay.
You know, what if we could do like the smash from the back of his head?
Yeah, I've wanted
So just
to
like it'd be like a black shape and you see like a silhouette change and like blood starts pouring out, but I don't focus on it. Like I don't see the details.
Mm-hmm.
When the club comes down and it's just like she's screaming, I feel like we could just take all their audio out and like music could take over. And again, we're trying to build more rage than sadness. That's going to really set up our journey.
Okay.
I'll come back and there'll be another version of the scene. Okay, play.
Joel, fucking get up! Please stop! Please don't shoot! Joel, please stop! No! No!
Overall, it's fucking awesome. Like I got emotional just the part where before he gets killed. It feels so fucking tense.
There certainly is still a ton to do. We still have like 45 scenes that haven't even been looked at yet. It's terrifying given our deadline. The process right now is just getting Neil. We just need to get Neil into the room.
Which one are we showing first? We've got essentially 3 versions. The one that I did, and this would work with what we're talking about doing with the scene, and then...
Close one.
I would probably say
There are people standing
this,
here
yours,
sometimes.
Mel, or
I got bad news.
Mel,
for you.
yours, this.
He's canceling?
He's canceled.
But we had the cameras set. He's supposed to come in. He's the
Actually, it's good we're getting this on camera.
This is what it's
not about.
This is what it's about.
Yeah, he has some melee stuff to review today. He said let's pick it up tomorrow.
So yeah, that's what happens. And so it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. I don't care. I don't care. Yeah.
E3 demo revisited.
I get called up to Neil's office one day. And there's like an empty seat. And Neil just goes like, oh, just sit down. I'm like, oh my God, I did something wrong. And he's like, do you know why you're here? And I'm like, no, are we gonna talk about one of my levels? And he laughs and he goes like, no, you're gonna work on the E3 demo. It's always been a dream of mine, working on an E3 demo, seeing it on stage. Is this a joke? Like, am I getting pranked right now?
So speaking of E3 demos, remember way back when, like you guys said you were going to lock that content and then not touch it? How's that go?
Well, and then we ship just the glossiest, best-looking demo you've ever seen. We burn that to a disk at the beginning of January, and then we don't touch it again, and nobody sees it until E3. Well, I think we knew at the time that we weren't going to not touch it. It's going to be really interesting to see if we can really, really commit to being done and not be tempted to say like, it could be a little better, let's go back. Because the game's been making progress for the 10 months or something since we locked that demo down. A lot of advances have been made, a lot of new ideas, new mechanics, and we really just need to have the discipline not to do that. Honestly, it feels like we are addicted to being late.
Okay, we're starting. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do today other than come up with a really long list. We're trying to limit it to an hour, so we'll be done at 4 no matter where we're at. Looking at the cinematics first. Because we did it so early and had a rough version of it a year in advance, we got a bit complacent.
She's putting up
Jesse, finally.
Sure is. Where are we on getting physics on these strands?
We are working on it.
So for next time? For next time?
Yes, absolutely.
We didn't scramble to figure out what it is we're going to show. We had the structure of like the festival going into this fight in the woods in Seattle, but it was harder to build the momentum we usually have. And I think that panic just wakes everybody up, and felt like it took us a bit longer to get there this time.
So then you go in as if to kill this guy, see somebody over there. Oh, breaks 50% of the time, but use your imagination.
Daniel, going a bit slower, give him some time.
Okay.
The animation is breaking the melee system.
Okay.
So like when he starts, yeah.
So I'm confident in the demo if we finish it.
That's got to be tequila.
I'll be frank, it's not looking great.
Or vodka.
All right, this is totally broken. For next week, let's make sure it's all there so we could actually review it.
Yep.
Okay, thanks everyone.
I feel like this demo is cursed.
Oh, I
the
remember
E3
this.
demo.
This was great.
It was a version
It
of
actually
our
turned out
original
well.
Greenlight demo. But I had to make it fully playable and shippable.
Viper!
The first thing I did was just basically take that space made by another level designer and put just enemies in it and start fighting. But when I started playing it, I remember like it wasn't there. That parking structure was way smaller, so it felt more cramped.
God is good.
God is good.
I remember going to Neil's office and being like, how much can I change this? And he's like, well, what are you thinking? I'm like, well, I'm thinking like this big thing, and I'm like, just like brand new designer, I'm just throwing out like everything, like I want to do this, and I want to do that, I want to make sure that it feels like a sandbox, that it feels like this big space, that has multiple paths. It's like something like we really haven't done before in The Last of Us. And he just goes, go for it, well, let's do it.
The water part was the favorite one I played. There's a lot of water in here. The boat part was cool. I still watch people
We
speedrun
picked
too.
a location in Seattle that essentially is probably the hardest lighting scenario we would have to pull off in the game. I wanted to get the overcast look nailed because so much of the game's dependent on that. How do we pull off this look? Can we pull off this look?
Everything felt a little muted, and we were losing kind of that next-gen quality of our engine.
Light. Like for a second, we actually turned the sun on in the demo.
But we lost the mood of that overcast kind of blue look.
Yeah, blue
That
lighting
moment
is
was
nice.
really rough for me. Just felt like years of my life that potentially would have just been like wasted
When did I
on
play
this.
at launch
pipe
in
dream
2020.
of a look.
That was the last time I played.
Well, we were struggling like last
That was
summer.
5
we
years
were-
ago.
It was like a fine balancing
Oh, 4.
act.
Is this whole thing just gonna crumble? Like, is the whole direction like now gonna have to change for the game, not just this demo? Have I steered this company wrong?
Took some really big iterations and tried some crazy ideas, and we came up with kind of a hack.
We talked with the programmers and found a few settings that actually gave us exactly what we wanted. It was really like one thing.
We faked the sunlight within this kind of ambient look so we could get some directionality of the lighting.
That it was like, oh, if we do this one thing, it actually got us the look we wanted. So like, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, like 4 years ago. Feels like
For
8
this
years
game,
ago now.
there was a major push to make a new volumetric fog system. It's not just like a kind of an
RTM.
overlay on top of the screen. That's why it's called volumetric. You feel the volume of it. It's gonna be a little bit thicker near the ground, right? Because there, you know, and you will see grass kind of getting through it. Fog also allows you to see the light. Fog adds atmosphere. Atmosphere brings everything together. Now with this game, we did add recently some new tech that allows us to make some of the water drips more dynamic, meaning that if you have a car, you will see a water, follow the glass, follow the hood, and then from the bumper, you're gonna start seeing dynamic
Hood
droplets.
babies?
So that was really cool.
Hood
And
babies?
then we can now actually also use this technology to drive blood. Now we can have blood dripping, and we have water dripping. The water
know
trail
your
can pick
character
up
would
where
bleed
is it
when they got
bloody,
shot. That's
and
cool.
if it's bloody, it can change its own color and start dripping more red. And on top of it, we also clear out the blood. So what you will see is you will see bloody area, you will see water trails going down, and you will see the water trails washing out the blood and picking up the redness and going down. Really, really cool.
In the E3 demo, we do want to show our next-gen animation system.
One of the biggest animation upgrades that we wanted to add to this project was motion matching. The way that it works is it takes a pool of animation data and it picks the most appropriate clip to blend together and create just very fluid and organic
Very
movement.
advanced. That's cool.
We want these characters to just feel grounded and believable in the world, properly shifting their weight and
Yeah,
moving the
right.
way a real human would.
Well done. Thank goodness they
In order to
remastered this
capture all those on the
game.
stage, we use something called a dance card, a choreographed set of patterns that the actor can move on the floor.
Basically, that's creating this like bank of little pieces of animation. The motion matching system just pulls from that bank all the animation that's necessary to have them move perfectly in any arbitrary way. When it works, it's like so far and away better than any other animation technique. It's like a quantum leap of the highest order in terms of quality.
Any one mechanic is not maybe anything you haven't seen before. It's the combination of how it all comes together, the way it works with the animation system.
The new stuff we're talking about is like, oh, you can be in grass.
She went into the grass. Watch yourself.
Like one of the biggest things we do in the demo is jump a gap.
Bingo.
It's tough to be like, oh crap, you can
Where's
jump,
these?
you know, like
Yeah,
it's
they're in
like,
France.
but it's new to our game.
We have to have the best prone mechanic of all time.
Yeah, the prone mechanics in this are just like ridiculous. Like being able to lay
yeah,
down.
no one's ever seen when I
backwards.
aim and prone and she actually like rolls up on her
The
back
first
and
game I've
aims
seen
like
that.
this.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like it can never clip through geometry. Being able to rotate 360 in all directions. It can never like do a janky thing when she's reloading while doing it or aiming in water. There's like an IK thing that will like lift her chest and head up and then it gets too deep. Now we're in a special prone underwater moveset thing. Her chest and arms and everything are kind of matching ground plane. Things that a player will never notice. And it's because we like purposely did it. There's no such thing as like, oh, you know, it's not as good as, you know, this other game's one, but like, it's fine. It's gotta be like, no, it's fucking Naughty Dog. We have to have the best version of the thing, whatever that is.
These graphics are bad. This is probably some of the worst graphics I've seen in the game so far.
E3 overall was amazing. The press conference was in a very different venue. They usually have them in like these big auditoriums.
Bad graphics.
And this was kind of like almost like a pop-up.
This looks horrible.
It was more like a theme park idea, but it's like in a parking lot, in a tent, in Los Angeles, at downtown. They built the whole crazy church thing, which was pretty rad.
It was super cool. It was better than we expected.
I remember this too.
And you could feel like the tension of people trying to figure out, what is this press conference? What's going on? What game are they going to show here?
Helldivers 2.
On the Naughty Dog logo, you get this big cheer. On the Ellie reveal, you get this big cheer. Every moment that we've constructed and planned like meticulously for really a year now hit, and hit the way we wanted it to hit.
Maybe they're jealous of you. I'm just a girl, not a threat. I think they should be terrified of me.
That's my purse. I don't know you. This was a really good demo, though.
One of the biggest reactions was when the HUD came on. They looked at that forest and thought, there's no way it can look this good. Like, that's impossible. But when we flash the HUD and be like, yeah, that's it. This is the real game. People are not ready for this. Like, this is gonna fuck you up.
See, I told you. They should be terrified.
Yeah, the combat's really... I kind of want to play it again just for the combat. That's why you play the remaster, I guess, or the shoot. Remastered 3-year-old game.
It was
Druckmann,
electric.
the shareholders
My
love
skin
you.
was like tingling the whole time.
Like as soon as it's done playing, I'm like on my phone.
And it was wild. It was wild to see it just everywhere. See it on YouTube, see people commenting on it.
I can't believe the Last of Us trailer started. The kiss was amazing. Looking ruthless and gay. Kisses and killed.
But it was a
One of the best
really
trailers I've
special
ever
moment. I shipped something like as a level designer.
There was
Yeah,
such
it
a
was a very good
reaction
demo.
to the animation fidelity. Holy crap, this is the best looking animation I've ever seen. Are you kidding me?
We're on the forums, going through the messages, seeing how much people think it's amazing. Someone's like, sort of cynically, that our stuff was fake.
I guess
That's
it's
a
kind of a
compliment.
compliment to the
Yeah, that's-
animation
that's a
team for like
compliment.
someone to say it's fake when they're working
Mhm.
so hard. And right away I respond, I was like, don't respond, don't do anything. Like, it's just not professional.
I was also a little anxious
don't
about it
respond to that.
because
That's a compliment.
it's a little fake, you know?
Fake is an interesting word. There's an argument that he's right.
It's not the final polished game. You can't just play this demo in any way. You have to play it in this very specific way. But before we even show the demo, it was like, let's not put anything in there we feel like we can't do.
There was no thing of like, we don't know how we're gonna do that. It was just, we literally just don't have it systemic yet. You know, like systemically, a guy pulling you out from underneath a car, we didn't have that hooked up yet.
Neil lied to us.
Now we
I
have it
bet
hooked
that
up in the
blood
game.
wasn't even real. Oh my God.
It's her!
Shoot a guy 7 times.
All over soon.
Ultimately, as we're building the rest of the game, if anything feels like it's not the right call for the game, we don't mind changing it. Like we had certain things in the demo for the first Last of Us where like Joel picks up a pistol and takes out individual bullets from it and then pockets it. And like we could have done that, it just took too long. So for gameplay purposes, we cut that out.
I was talking to other animators,
right.
and they
Yeah,
were like,
true.
yeah, man, they think it's fake. They have no idea. Like, it's awesome.
The same animators who made this demo are going to make the final game, so like, I don't know what you're talking about.
They were confident, which I'm glad.
We knew what we were doing and we knew how special it was. It was a little bit of a microphone drop to the industry, and for many it was inspirational, and they were excited to be able to add some of those details to their games and their future games, and for some of them it absolutely freaked them out to see this might be the new bar that's expected for other games to follow.
Love the dodging in this game, though. That's what's really cool about games is when
Part
you
of me is
can-
like, oh shit, like they're fucking calling us out. It's like
When you
we
could
have to
almost get
deliver
hit.
this.
Not dodge by a mile, but dodge
We always
by like.
were gonna, but now it's like
just a
people
little
have
bit.
called us out, so
It's really cool.
we have to do a full body throw animation
Mercy.
when you pick up a bottle and you're running, and not just a partial animation because that guy fucking called us out.
Dude, this guy called us out. Let's make a game. Prove them wrong.
The real challenge is making the whole game look as good as this one controlled situation.
We come out of E3 and hopefully we've set the standard for this, what the rest of the game needs to feel like.
Fresh eyes.
When you already know exactly what you're supposed to do in the game, you've memorized everything, it's hard to have a true experience with it. You have to bring in people from the outside to play
Jerry,
it
I miss
fresh.
you every day, bro. I hope you're well. Hi, Jerry. A celebrity guest has joined in the chat, guys. Jerry Blue.
And
with
so
the
we try to start
35
playtesting as early as
gargantuan
possible.
Wow.
We
Love
got
you, man.
testers
Hope
in
you're
bright and
well.
early. They're
I
going to
miss
start
you.
playing the game. They're actually just right across the hall over here.
All rise. The Honorable Judge Jerry and executioners entered the chamber. Wow. Thank you,
It
Jerry,
is
for your
a
support.
fire drill.
I miss you tremendously, my friend. I hope you're well.
Because things have to work.
Dude, blue screen. Dude, it crashed. The game is bad.
So I'm currently watching the
Wait.
10 people that we have in at the moment focus testing. We've got all of their screens up, so I can kind of watch all of them at the same time.
hell is-
Generally keep track of any.
Okay, look. I'm live streaming, and thousands of people are going to see me stream this and react to this. However, this is weird. You got one guy watching like 17 people just going. He's watching them test the game. Like, what is this job? You're what? What? What?
Kind of recurring patterns or how long people generally take in certain areas.
They do things we haven't thought of. And it really shows us where our holes are. It's like, maybe I should change this. Maybe I should try that.
This player's pretty lost, trying to figure out this puzzle here, and they're trying to jump on a truck. He's got a really awesome solution here where he's putting this plank on a dumpster, and now he's moving the dumpster around. So we'll probably have to go in there and like try and fix some of that stuff up, but we'd rather figure that out now than in 6 months.
What kind of a? What would your job title
So
be?
things
As
like
guy who
puzzles like
watches
this one.
everybody else play.
Although they're
games?
figuring out the puzzle, they're actually not doing it in the kind of order that I'd like. What would be better is if they came into the space and realised, okay, that's
I
the
didn't even
thing I
think
need
about
to
this.
be like climbing up to or getting to, and then they can
What
kind
if
of
this guy goes into their chat and
work
just
backwards
this
from
guy's
there and go, well, if I need
backseat
to get there,
extraordinaire.
how do I get up?
He's
Oh, I
like,
can
that's
get up
not
on
how
this
you
thing.
do it. calls everybody. He's
quite
watching
heartbreaking
17
when you
people
see
stream.
people
and
who
then
are
he
like
just
really
calls,
confused or don't get
"Dude,
it, and
you're
it's
supposed to
something you
beat the
think
game."
like
Oh,
it should be obvious,
thanks,
but
dude.
it's not at all.
Type your response. I got frustrated.
But it's good data.
We've had a few people on the team that have been really passionate about making our games even more accessible for people with different kinds of disabilities.
Oh,
and
yeah.
making sure as many people as possible can experience our game.
This is good. I'm 100% for
Accessibility
this.
is something that like really touches a lot of people. As we get older, pretty much all of us are going to have probably some sort of accessibility need.
It's important to welcome people with disabilities into all of our public spaces, into our shared culture.
I'm with
and
that.
Video games
100%.
are a rich part of that.
I love this, that you don't have to have like a 2-button feature to keep her crouched down. This is awesome. I love that.
Brandon Cole, he said, I heard you announce this game. What do you think about the possibility of someone like myself being able to play it? And Brandon is blind. I hadn't really thought about that before. I don't even know if that's even possible, but I want to try because that sounds interesting. If you click on the L3 button, it turns the screen and the character towards your next objective. So you're able to sort of instantly sort of flip.
They were able to put that in?
Inspired by the talk you gave last time you were here.
I figured.
Hopefully
That's a beautiful thing.
We had this feature that let you navigate along the golden path. And we also had this other feature. You could like put out this sonar pulse and you'd hear where all the items and enemies were located.
Oh, that's cool.
But Brandon was playing that and was like, this navigation feature is great, but I don't want to just follow the golden path. I want to navigate to other things. It kind of occurred to us like, oh, we can combine these two features. We can let you scan for items and then navigate to that item.
This gives you more room if you do it this way for different types of sounds for different types of items. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Different sound for ammo, different sound for parts, different sound for explosive, different sound for keys. Or you,
craftable and collectible.
Yes, exactly.
Right on.
But since we want to hunt for secrets, just like anyone else, you're also going to want to know that, hey, there's something way over there.
Players with disabilities still want to have challenge.
It's not about just making an easy mode.
So what happened there
This
was
is like a whole different game that
pressed
they've
into
made
a wall and it automatically vaulted.
within the game.
I feel
That's
happy about
beautiful.
This is an example of actually the good part of the studio culture, which is self-empowered, that I think allowed us to do this crazy thing, this thing that, you know, I couldn't tell you if it makes business sense to some degree, but it was something we were passionate about and interested in. It was a way we saw we could make the game better. It was something we saw we could like push the frontiers of, and we went with it.
That's cool as hell.
Studio leadership was supportive of us, but this really was like a bottom-up kind of initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that early success really helped to build momentum for the rest of the project.
Shielding everybody from the cost, from the budget of these decisions helps them focus on their discipline. Don't worry about money, worry about making the best game possible. Trust that there are people at the top that are looking at the budget and considering that.
At a certain point in the project, we start offering dinners to the team.
Note to self, get into games
And it's kind of like an acknowledgement of like, okay, there's a lot of hard work to get it done.
Oh, there's the barbecue. God, that's where
And we
it
know
was.
people are probably going to
Where's
want to be
Troy?
staying late.
Paper plates. What the hell?
Now we are crunching.
Oh, crunch. Here we go. There's those red stools.
This is crunch.
There's those red stools I told you about. Delay of game. I want to make that game. Dude, Raptors making a
felt
game.
it for months that this release date is not realistic with how big the game is. People were asking us, is this a real date? Because it's not feeling like a real date anymore, so we felt like we had to react pretty soon. And then at some point, it just felt like because people were starting to put in longer hours, it wouldn't have been fair to not figure this stuff out sooner than later.
We're never going to finish this game.
If you work hard for longer, that could have a toll on you.
What's amazing is that they not only at this time were they working on the
We tell
Last of
everybody,
Us Part
pace
2, but they were also working on the
like
remaster at the
it's
same
a marathon,
time.
it's not a
Amazing
sprint.
That they released it 3 years later. Wow. That's amazing. That's
We
amazing.
settled on a February release.
I mean, think about it. Right now, they're working on Last of Us 3 and the remaster that'll come out 3 years
gas in
later
the
for
tank.
Last of Us 3. Imagine that. All those people dedicated
Right
to
now,
making
we are
2 games at a time.
dancing a very intricate and dangerous dance. We have something like 6 months left to finish the game. And we are also showing a demo to the press. The longest playable demo we've ever done. 2 separate levels of the game. A level towards the beginning of the game where you play with Dina on patrol outside of Jackson. And then the second part of the demo is in a level that's super duper challenging.
Ellie by herself, murder mode.
So what we're doing for the press in 9 weeks is really those 2 levels of the game. It's unlikely that we're going to need to touch them again until the game ships. That was really the only kind of demo that we could do at this point that would still help further our production goals as well as give us this like marketing boost that we need.
Mm-hmm.
The more we talked about it, the more we convinced ourselves, okay, this would actually be a good time to just put out a trailer.
Building these 2 major demos and a trailer next to the rest of the fucking game.
And it felt impossible early on. I mean, it's the thing that's always hard for us to polish. You review these things and we're looking at all these tiny details. It's like, even that shot of Jackson is like, where should the trees be? How much fog should it be? How much sun should it be? How should the sun hit the clouds? How we get all these civilians, the kids, do they have the proper gear? Are they wearing the right clothes? Is the tractor leaving tracks on the ground?
Wow.
That kind of crazy detail
Yeah.
can only come through all these departments coming together and rising this occasion to achieve that kind of level of quality.
Magic.
We wanted to show the team the final trailer.
Before we show you the trailer, just to say thank you to everyone, where we jumped from doing a 3-hour demo to this trailer where we had almost nothing, and it's like pretty amazing what we can do when we all come together. In fact, it's so amazing you can forget, and I've been here for a long time and I can forget. So to remind you, and maybe reignite some of that panic, we're going to show you 2 trailers. One from exactly a month ago, and one from about an hour ago when we wrapped up the trailer. So enjoy.
Look who decided to join us. All right, you all know the drill.
Dina, where are you?
The horse is just hovering.
You think I'd let you do this on your own?
It only gets 1 clap.
Keep in mind, this is what the whole game's going to look like. We're going to make it this awesome.
You can't stop this.
This was a good reminder. Look, when we come together, when we rise to the occasion, when we do this thing that people outside the studio talk about, like this Naughty Dog magic, this is what it looks like. So when you look at parts of the game that aren't there yet, know that we could get there in a pretty short period of time when we're so focused.
February 2020.
The date was the scariest part about it.
We got the trailer done. We'll talk to it. Just wanted to take this moment to run through the events of Outbreak Week, which is when the trailer is going to debut. We are going to be having the big press event in Koreatown at this giant warehouse. We're actually having 80 journalists from all over the world come. We got make sure very comfortable chairs for 3 hours.
Outbreak Day is the day the outbreak happened in the United States in 2013.
In real life, we celebrate September 26th as Last of Us Day.
Every September 26th, we've done something for Last of Us fans.
When people play these 2 sections, which are very different, I hope and I feel that both of them are equally impressive. When you play that first demo, you're like, that was incredible.
Oh my god.
this could have been the whole demo. This could have been the whole thing. It says enough about what the game is. And then you play the other half, and it's like way more mechanics heavy, way more combat heavy.
Keep going, boy. There.
In the highest level of how Naughty Dog is perceived as a company, it's that we're story first and mechanics second. A lot of it is, I think, proving to the press and proving to people that, yes, we can do both.
I want people to walk away and say, this is the best controlling, this is the best feeling third-person shooter.
It's on the level of the best action stealth games you've ever played.
So one of the things that I've always found really exciting about The Last of Us is the kind of fidelity with which we represent human intelligence.
One of the ways that really helped make them feel more human and more alive was the way that they use their body language to communicate to each other.
Everybody spread out. We may have multiples.
We had a number of sessions where the animation team, design team, and programmers all got together and we acted out a number of scenarios. And what that does is it gives us really great reference and touch points that we can always look back to about the way that we naturally behave, the way we naturally respond to each other. And those are the types of details that we want to weave back into the game.
Someone took out Zoe! Who the fuck's out there? Sweep the whole goddamn street.
Our NPCs are named so that you understand these people have relationships.
They want to get revenge on
right.
you. It's this little mini loop of the whole premise of the game.
Yep.
Omar!
Yep.
Tiger!
I just killed their friend and they want to kill me now.
There's a cost. You killed that person. His friend now feels a loss. You know, his dog is now alone.
Dogs are really difficult to start off with because they're quadrupeds. They just don't turn around. They kind of like wheel around a little bit.
Smell something, girl?
The main concern we had is how is it that we can actually get a
Kitty.
dog to perform a dance card on the motion capture set? And when we finally brought them on set, it was just incredible what these dogs were capable of doing and what the trainers were able to accomplish in a short time.
Jump, jump, jump! Oh, there you go.
They move extremely quickly. So they're super hard to shoot.
Right in here! Fuck! I didn't get her!
They are very low to the ground. You have like these attacks that are designed to go up here, and now you have to kind of do them down there.
Killing a dog has gotten people more like upset than anything else in the game, than hanging people, than eviscerating people.
We're gonna break new ground in dog murder.
Not sure about that, Neil. There might be something else.
Scripters
People are a
start
little
like 2
mad
months
about.
ago. First question, she walks into the middle of the room. I have one question. Does the dog survive? And everyone's like, oh no, first day, first day, first day, first day. Oh no.
So we killed it, and then you have to love it knowing that it's already dead. So there's gonna probably be people that are upset about that.
Hey, Al. You want to go to the trucks? Let's go to the trucks.
With the notable exception of Alice, we took great pains to ensure that every combat encounter that you fight against a dog, you do not have to kill any of them. It's more palatable to kill people because they're all there because they choose to be there, but all of these dogs were trained to do this exact thing, and so you're killing an innocent creature.
You're saying that nobody in that military was trained to do this? They're all there because they want to, and they weren't forced by any means?
That feeling of discomfort, it's exactly what we're trying to explore with The Last of Us.
Think of quite a few
ironically, making them more realistic
non-volunteer
makes
militaries.
people feel more okay about killing them. We had like kind of a goofy art prototype. We had like just a very rough dog. We found that goofy dog that had no fur, people felt really bad about killing that dog. Like when you would shoot them, they would fall over dead and like give one last whine as their like dying breath and stuff. So we just really tried to like tone down the pitiability of all the dogs and stuff.
The best sound in most games are the stuff you don't notice. The Foley in the game is extremely detailed.
Oh, the sheep and goat section.
Things like Foley are very easy to get wrong and noticed for the wrong reason, very difficult to get right, but when you get it right, no one's going to pat you on the back for it.
Oh, this is for the crane.
Audio guys are kind of a different breed. We listen to everything all the time. It's kind of a curse.
This is for the crane section.
Our ability to use pre-recorded assets from a library that's like commercially available has been diminished almost entirely because we have very specific needs.
Do one more of those.
The hell? They put me in this video? I did not give
We're trying
permission
to take what we did in the first game and
to
bring
my
it
dog
to
to put
another
me
level of detail.
in this video.
Yeah, play with that a little bit. Like mixing that tonality in is cool. Yeah.
The enemies themselves, especially the infected, have had to go through a review process. In the first game, they're pretty coarse. They're basically like on or off. They're either walking around mumbling or they're freaking out trying to get you. And so now we've developed sort of this like murmuration breath system that allows them to have a much more natural flow between being agitated and not. A big part of those recording sessions is working with the voice actors. It's much more collaborative.
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of want to see what your more natural voice sounds like.
You're basically trying to coach people that they're not zombies.
Yeah, now imagine sprinting.
No,
Oh yeah,
cool,
dude.
man.
Yeah, take your time, man.
That's
great.
really great.
One of the folks that we worked with, the sounds he was able to generate from himself was unlike anything I've ever heard before.
They should have just recorded people waiting in line for the free food out in the
Gnarly
break room.
sounding roars and breaths and wheezes and
Guys, we brought in
really
Famous
interesting
Dave.
stuff that I've never heard come out of a person ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Sound is, we're inherently post-production on a lot of this stuff. We kind of just have to be jamming, and we have to be as prepared as possible, and that's what we try to do. A lot of stuff is yet to come for us, which means there's not a lot of time left, which means that it's going to get really intense. It gets really intense for everybody, but for audio in particular, we'll be here late.
I think that, I don't know if it's the whole studio, but I know I'm definitely feeling very tired right now. I'm feeling a little burned out. I'm realizing that I can't crunch like I used to. I can't put everything I have into these games as much as I was able to when I first got here. It's pretty unanimous that this game is really big, where it's bigger than we'd like it to be.
The Last of Us Part 1 is small compared to this game. My argument, make the game small again. I don't even call them small.
There were times when I was writing like 40 pages of in-game dialogue a night. Neil kept saying,
40?
stop, you have to like give it to somebody else. We will hire somebody, we will make this work. And I was like, I think it'll just be, I was just bullishly like, I can handle it, I'm tough. I would like somebody to teach me how to have work-life balance.
Me, I.
There are some times where I wish I had somebody in production or a big brother that could be like, no, go home. This is great. This is already great. You don't need to do the next thing.
I feel like at any given point, you'll go into the kitchen and you'll find people, what I would say, saloning about the game, like going deep philosophy into what's working, what isn't. People criticizing this or that. This doesn't look good. I don't like this scene. This doesn't work for me. I hate this.
You know, like they're going to lunch and like expressing doubt to each other and like, is this gonna come together? Is this the one that like screws Naughty Dog up? Let me just exude whatever confidence I have left. Let me try to bestow this person with it so they can feel inspired and go off and do their work. But then sometimes you're alone in the office.
Who's working
and you're like,
on the next Crash Bandicoot?
What if this
damn
doesn't
it?
come together? What if this is the one that sucks?
When is the next
What if
Crash
this is the one
Bandicoot?
that sinks Naughty Dog? So then you have to like kind of bury it, compartmentalize it.
Neil?
Who knows what damage it does to your body while you're doing that? Because ultimately, you can't let that fear dictate how you work. And just keep the faith.
Primary filming on the project ceased in December of 2019 due to COVID. The following interviews were recorded in 2023, looking back at the push to get the game out.
The game was just about done, was content complete. We were fixing bugs when
There's these like rumblings of this pandemic happening.
Like, I remember when this COVID shit hit, and we're like, bro, really? Like, for real pandemic?
You know, at first it feels like, oh, this is nothing we need to worry about. And then all of a sudden you do have to worry about it.
And like, are people gonna want to play a game that takes place in a pandemic when there's a real pandemic?
Training, bro.
We had never worked from home ever. Naughty Dog was actually strictly against working from home.
We did not have the infrastructure set up at this studio to work from home.
And it's because we were so intense about security and leaks that all of our data, including our emails and our chats and IMs, it all had to be on a server inside the building.
There was a huge leak. They lost everything. It's coming. Oh.
We were like air-gapped from the outside world.
The operations team, the IT team, our engineering team, they all had to coordinate in a very short period of time to get us working from home. We don't even know when the game can come out.
Had to pack up everybody's
we don't
computer
know
and
if we
ship
can
it to
physically
them.
ship this product with like the supply chain and stuff.
We had to come out and say, the game can come out in this date, and we don't even know when it will come out. It's delayed indefinitely. So a lot of our most hardcore fans are angry with us. Around the same exact time,
Global crisis
we
preventing us
started
from
having
providing
these
the
leaks.
game owned.
We're like, we didn't put out this video. Like, where is this coming from? It's a video from one of our reviews. So you could hear the notes, and people that can't attend the meeting can watch it after the fact. We store all these videos on our server. Did it come from the inside? Someone with a Naughty Dog?
My first thought was, this isn't like a developer leaking this, isn't it? This isn't someone on the team.
It's this person in the Netherlands downloaded terabytes of videos through a back door in the server.
Damn.
And then this is where we made a fatal error. Let's close this back door. And then this person put out everything. A video goes up on YouTube, and I don't remember what the first video was, but it was something relatively benign.
But they weren't like super important scenes. You know, they were like little clips, and it was like, okay, that's a little weird. What is that?
All out of order and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's bad.
And you kind of wanted to just say, stop, wait, don't watch it. Like, you're gonna ruin things for yourself.
There's YouTubers I've watched for years, and they're making entire videos, and the title is like, fuck Naughty Dog. And fuck The Last of Us Part 2.
There's just all this negativity and no positivity because no one has played the game. They just have these videos out of context and all these rumors mixed with them. Abby is playable.
They thought Abby was trans because she has muscles.
Here's the ending if they kill Ellie.
And then it just turned into this whole political thing. Oh, Naughty Dog's they're doing this political shit.
And then I get this text from Evan. They just posted Joel's death. And my heart sinks. I can't even describe this feeling. It's just this like dread. It's almost like you just heard someone you care about died. I don't know, that's the closest I could come to. I thought Troy would be looking at that and be like, you see, you were wrong.
He said, do you think we did the right thing? And I said, I don't know, Neil.
I
haven't played the game yet.
Yep.
I was livid. I was real angry.
I'm bombarded with hundreds of negative comments, death threats, anti-Semitic comments. It's putting me in a deep depression.
There's some stupid stuff that's like, you're a feminazi, you're whatever shit like that, but it's like some stuff was really like, you know,
wow,
disturbing.
The hatred, I think, that was behind it. I was sad. Like, there were a lot of days where I would just cry.
Every time I went online, it was just, that's all I saw was death threats and threats of violence. And the worst of it, the really like hardcore death threats got passed along, and they, you know, made sure that they weren't anyone that like lived close by. Yeah, they were like threatening my son, you know, who was born during all of it, and yeah, it was rough. It was rough.
Not cool.
But, you know,
not cool.
More than anything, it just kind of like, it kind of like taught me to kind of keep a distance, you know?
This thing that I spent 4.5 years on, it's kind of getting violated.
And then for 2 months before release, there's like nothing you can do. You can't release the game sooner because it's not done yet.
And that was the lowest point in my life. I'm working on the game towards the end at home by myself, feeling very alone. And I said, who am I doing this for? Like, why am I, why, this is too much. And I barely squeaked by.
You ordered the creation of the second game. You're doing it for you.
And then we were able to finish it. And, you know, we sent it to reviewers, and
Ghost of Tsushima.
Reviews are through the roof.
Last of Us Part 2, one of the best video games ever made.
And I called Troy and I said, like, dude, I'm sorry. I feel like I failed you. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, I just know how some people talk. He's like, oh, dude, I don't care. I played the game and I love it. And I got really emotional. It's like, I realized how much I care about Troy caring about the game. And that was a huge sense of relief.
There's not a single aspect of the game, Part 2, that I would change. And anytime someone comes up to me and says, you know, I didn't really like what they did to Joel, I was like, great, awesome.
Made you feel
Tell me a better version of the story. And to this day, they still can't.
It was a traumatic experience for myself and many people on the team. And the kind of hate we got because of those leaks will stay with me forever. And I can't even describe how angry I was of what the damage this person did to us. I want them punished in every sort of way. I wanted this to be this villain. And this person is like, you know, in their 20s or whatever. They live with their parents. And it's a fan. And then when we delayed the game indefinitely, this is what they said, is like, I wanted to force Naughty Dog's hand. I wanted to force them to release the game. So I thought if I just put out all the videos, eventually they'll put out the game, which again was never an option for us. And I remember sitting there,
are so dumb,
sitting in my anger, and then slowing down and just saying, okay, if anybody should take the lesson from Last of Us Part 2, it should probably be us.
Release this
just let it go.
Complete game. They release it, dude, the game's incomplete, game bad. Absolute idiot. Letter E has to have 14.
We got Eddie Vedder to play Future Days for the Game Awards. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. Yeah, I know, so shocking to many people.
What a fascinating way to tell a story. It's just getting better and better all the time. And I really appreciate the way that Future Days was used, especially bringing Joel and Ellie together, connecting through music. It was cool to be part of it. So thanks for having me, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank
How
you,
lucky
Eddie.
am I? Like, how cool is this? This person that I've admired since I was a kid is now like mentioning this game that we all made. And then we started winning award after award after award. I wanted that validation for the team.
Everyone at Naughty Dog.
Behind the window.
I can't wait to hug and high five and get drunk with each one of you.
Hell yeah,
but it's going to have to wait till next year. And more than anything, and I know that I speak for the whole team when I say this, we'd like to thank our friends and family that stood by us and supported us throughout us making this game. You inspire us not only to make better, more meaningful games, but to improve how we make games.
Okay, so between June of 2020, now it's April
The
2023.
pandemic kind of brought up that question of like health and mental health. Are we developers that are going to stay at the studio and have full careers? How do we make this sustainable?
I chuckle in retrospect, just how absurd the failure of trying to alleviate crunch was. If you have great processes and you're super organized, that doesn't fix crunch. What that does is it allows you to make a bigger game.
We read the post-mortem feedback for The Last of Us 2, and it was really, really upsetting to see what coworkers had gone through. So we were highly motivated to try to figure out how to fix it.
Everything about our workflows were already being upended with remote work and everything. So it's like, okay, well, yeah, we got to do this now.
And we knew that to make the real changes we did, it would take the entire studio working together.
We now have the goal for Naughty Dog to eliminate crunch.
The only thing that fixes crunch, the only thing is just deciding that you're not going to crunch.
When we onboard people, we tell them, we have a reputation as a studio for crunching, and it's something we don't want. And it's something we're not going to do anymore.
First, we had to do, what is crunch? Let's define it.
Okay, that's good.
Because when you just look
That's
at
problem
hours,
solving,
that turn
yes.
out to be too simplistic.
It's a multitude of factors. It's not just like one thing. It's not just, oh, because of this is what's causing crunch. It's literally like so many of these little things.
How do we make sure no one at Naughty Dog burns out?
Every couple of months, we send out a 90-second questionnaire that goes, are you worried about your workload? Are you worried about having to work overtime? If you feel like I'm overburdened with work, you have to tell somebody.
Hell
We
yeah,
used
the
to,
barbecue
as a
again.
studio,
Hell yeah.
when we were getting close to shipping a game, bring in dinners for the whole studio. We don't do crunch dinners anymore.
Being able to work from home is hugely helpful for me, from my mental health. Of like, my daughter's there, my wife is there.
Hybrid is really the sweet spot because I think the benefits have just been enormous.
In the past, our leads, our managers, were the people that were best at their craft, but not necessarily the best managers.
So we created the role of principal.
We really gave people the choice, like, do you want to make stuff or do you want to lead and manage?
And Arnaldo is now a lead designer here.
Now I'm responsible for a team, and I really enjoy that. And being able to share that knowledge and kind of work with someone, even if they're more experienced than me, and it's been great so far.
We have a very large and robust production department now that we didn't have.
Holding us accountable when we make a decision, when it's just everyone going, yes, more, yes, better, yes, polish, polish, polish. Tallying that up and going, okay, well, this is the result. Now you're not in your ship date anymore.
It feels so much like a different studio.
I hope that we can keep changing for the better and make sure that we're making the games that we want to make, that we're really passionate about, that we don't stop doing that.
We want self-driven, healthy designers.
Yes,
we want to have it
exactly.
all. We want to have it both. And,
they're making a
Can we do that?
Baxter game
That'll be
then.
the question, I guess.
Confirmed. The show.
The HBO's thing has been a wild ride.
Okay, clap by HBO now. Oh my god.
I just wanted it to be like good. Like, dude, if it just comes out and it's a good show,
yeah, it's pretty good.
Like that's gonna be huge.
Kitty, they put the kitty in. Hell yeah, brother! Suppressing fire.
I'm sure it will be very different when I actually see Abby being portrayed. That will be so weird. I can't imagine what Ashley and Troy must be feeling.
Specifically because Ellie is a part of my heart. In some ways, it was really hard. I feel like Bella was the only person who could play her. Because I feel like she is Ellie. There's a part of me that's like weirdly protective of her.
I remember when Neil told me, he was like, we found Joel. I was like, he wasn't missing.
Dad jokes. See, they
he
work.
goes, Pedro Pascal. And I went, oh, we're bulletproof.
It felt like Craig and Neil together saw that this was a story about humanity, and they made it a story about humanity.
We got Frank. Who knew that was waiting? Craig's screaming from the sidelines going, I did.
When Neil and Craig asked me to play Ellie's mother, Anna, it made me so happy. And I'm crying, so it doesn't seem like it, but it was symbolic in so many ways to me. Being able to sort of bring Ellie into the world, be the first one to fight for her. It breaks my heart.
It felt like on the other side, we could get this story to people that will never play a video game.
My mom is watching the show, and like, she can enjoy this story and she can be a part of it. And she's so excited and working on season 2 and getting to see that.
I love this idea that someone could watch the show and then realize, wait, that's based on a video game? And come back and check out the game and then realize, oh, there's like all these rich games, AAA, indie, and all sorts of stories that are really unique to this medium.
Future days.
I did some other interview where someone asked me about The Last of Us and would there be any more stories or something. And I mentioned, like, you know, we have written a story that takes place after Last of Us 2 that stars Tommy. And I hope one day we get to make it. And the headlines across the industry were like, Naughty Dog has outlined Last of Us Part 3. And that's actually wrong. It was always a small story. It was never like a full title. At the time, we had higher priorities at Naughty Dog, was like to fix our pipeline, to fix work-life balance issues. Just based on where we were, I didn't want to prioritize this story, so that story was shelved. And I still believe one day it will see the light of day. I don't know if it'll be a game or a show, TBD. First game had such a clean concept of like the unconditional love a parent feels for their child. The second one, once we landed on this idea of the pursuit of justice at any cost, justice for the ones you love, it felt like, oh, there's a clean concept here, and there's a through line from the first game about love. If we never get to do it again, this is a fine ending point. And right, last bite of the apple, the story's done. The great thing about working at Naughty Dog is that we don't have to. It's always like, we would love another Last of Us, but if you guys feel like are passionate about something else, we'll support this other thing. Very privileged position to be in. I never take that for granted. I've been just thinking about, okay, is there a concept there? And for now years, I haven't been able to find that concept. But recently that's changed. And I don't have a story, but I do have that concept that to me is as exciting as 1, as exciting as 2, is its own thing, and yet has this through line for all 3. So it does feel like there's probably one more chapter to this story.
Tommy will be a DLC character for Fortnite. Confirmed. Cue the guitar. There we go. In order of appearance. Wow, alright, so I guess what this is hyping up is Last of Us, the whole series. Last of Us, the HBO series, and Last of Us, the remastered or whatever you want to call it, and also possibly the third game, because and if the third game does well, guess we're doing a fourth part, and so on and so forth. However, Naughty Dog seems to have been able to come to an end with Uncharted as well, but Uncharted was good and fun. Felt like an action movie. This was, of course, more of a drama. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna be it for now. We got to get out of here and go chill with Red in Enshrouded. I'm a bit late, so thanks to him and you guys for being patient. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next for Last of Us. Hopefully, it's good. Both the TV series and the future games. So we'll see. Anyway, Dino Man Actual is out. I'll see you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.